Yes, Spurs fans, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur here. It is another game day coming thick and fast at this point. We are in the December fixture list period where we're just going to have to find some sort of semblance of form here for the team, for us as fans, and also, of course, for Thomas Frank, who we'll be touching on a lot during this show. Let's get ready for it, everybody. It's one of those big, massive games. Newcastle away, not an easy place for us to have gone. We do have a decent away record still, but this is one of those games that historically has kind of undone us in the past, and it's just not been an easy place for us to go. But yeah, back from Thanksgiving break, Dave, of course, was able to hold down the fort for me. And to be honest,
Barely, by
with
the way.
the last two games, it's probably good to be away. I actually wish I was with you, Dave, for the PSG game. That one looked like a lot of fun, maybe despite
Yeah,
the result and everything. It did seem
was
like a
actually.
fun game to watch. But the Fulham game, I'll be honest, I'm kind of glad that I missed that one.
Don't get me wrong, you've been a big miss. I even done the under 19, UEFA Cup game to sort of get to grips with everything. Look, tech wise, things went all right. It's
That's
just
good.
you miss. It's like having your right arm gone though. When you're missing. So it's absolutely great to have you back. And I was thinking of you because I know you were on. I think you said you would be on the plane for the PSG game. So I was saying,
Yeah.
I put out there. I was wondering whether you got the Wi-Fi for it or not because I know you were explaining sometimes you can get it dirt cheap or sometimes it's astronomical.
Yeah.
So I was like, if Jack is watching it, he'll certainly be enjoying this one for sure.
I did pay for the cheap Wi-Fi, but it was a bit dodgy at times, a lot of sort of refreshing. So what made that game a bit frustrating was any time that I clicked refresh and I would have to wait like a minute, all of a sudden 2 goals would sort of fly in the back of the net. So it was just one of those where I just felt like I couldn't make sense of actually what was happening. When you're seeing 8 goals in a game, you're just like, geez, what the hell is going on here? But definitely gave a few fist pumps on some of the goals on the plane, which was pretty funny for others around me. Let's greet some people in the house, and then we'll get the show underway. We, of course, have Martin Knightsbridge, the one and only, and as well as Dermatron in here with us. AK Shag saying, big up, lads. Hope we can have fun and happy clap with the build-up, but understand everyone's pissed off right now. Come on, you Spurs. Let's see a response from the players tonight. Yeah, AK, it's a difficult task, really, to try to find that balance where it's hard with the recent form. I think it's something like last 4 out of 5 Premier League games, we haven't found a win. And also as well, like it's just everything around the players, chiping back at the fans to Thomas Frank sort of backing them up on that. It's just not a happy camp at the minute. So we'll try our best. Of course, we have the resident happy clapper and Dermatron to try to make sense of it all, but I will try my best as well here. But I appreciate you being here with us. And when things are tough, it is hard to just sort of make up, positive things to say really out of thin air. But of course, we try to strike that balance. Davey Hall saying big up to the crew. Last year was a hard Premier League watch the year before, and now it's getting very close to that. I love this club, but we just keep on losing. I think pretty much everyone's in a similar boat to Davey Hall there. Logan THFC saying, evening, fellas, big up to all. And the usual, I'm absolutely dying for a win tonight, but with this lot, you never know. I am also dying for a win, especially Newcastle away. Pick up a win. Not saying it fixes everything, but damn, would I probably be happy clapping after a win tonight if we were able to get
Oh
one.
yeah.
Good to see Rodney Martin as well. Good to see Wembley one. Big up Wembley one. Really appreciate your support. Evening, everyone. Let's try and at least be competitive tonight. Or is even that asking far too much of this team? The shadow of League's legacy is unsurprisingly dark and long. It feels like we're at that stage, right, where we just want to look competitive. But with the points that we've been dropping, Wembley, maybe I'm being a bit selfish here, but I actually think we have to look competitive. But I think we have to find some points, at this stage, really. We're starting to slip down that table, and we'll be talking about it, of course, what is maybe acceptable in terms of a performance and maybe in terms of points tonight. I do have a question on that one. Shemi Tan, member for 18 months. Hey, Jack and Dave. Coys, thanks for all you do. Thanks for you, Shem. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks for supporting us through these roller coasters of being a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Hopefully we pick up some sort of points tonight and we get those kebab orders in. Spurs Diehards is in here. Dropkick your teacher. Big up to you, sir. Hopefully you're keeping well. King Hoddle's in the house. He's saying since the Conte left the club, we have lost 44 of 99 league games. Yes, Frank might be the wrong man, but the truth is that we have stood still for years, whilst other clubs keep on getting stronger. I think a lot of people would agree with you there, King Hoddle. J Max in the house, the good old Wayne Bonner. Good to see you, sir. Hopefully everything's all right with you, my friend. Leighton Evelyn, my favorite happy clappers in the house as well, the biggest of them all. We also have another failed upload. It's getting to a point where players today are a little bit soft and can't take the booing, then play better. Simple. Some people called me out yesterday on the fan show about that, but I sort of think if you're being paid what some of us earn 3-4 years, like these guys earn in a week what some people earn in 3-4 years, I'm pretty sure they're being well compensated to handle a bit of booing, to handle a bit of negativity. It's one of those professions where you don't get to this stage, you don't get to this level and not expect there to be pressure, not expect there maybe to be moments where you will feel a bit uncomfortable. You will feel like you're being kind of put under the caution, put under the pressure. If you can't handle it, someone else will take your place, in my opinion, really. It's just one of those things. I don't really get why players feel like they can be paid this much money and sort of be playing at this high of a level and then also feel like we're going to be Teletubby, cuddly bears about them as well. I really don't get it, to be honest. Seems like the game is gone. Another failed upload. We also have Ben in here saying a draw is looking a bit too much to ask for. I'll be listening to the game at work. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here with us. As we're getting this started, please, everybody, smash the like button. Of course, as well, if you want to support the channel, you're welcome to become a member like Shemi Tan has for the last 18 months. And if you want to stop us at any point, because this could end up being some difficult conversations, and if you want to get your own thought, your own opinion in here, you're welcome to throw it in the chat or as a super chat to support the channel. But let's get this show underway here, boys. I'm going to go to you first on this one, Martin Knightsbridge. Newcastle away historically been a very tough fixture for Spurs over the years. Would you be satisfied with a point away from home, or is this maybe a must-win game considering where we are in the table?
Going on recent times, and we've had some of our biggest spankings up there over the years, and this goes way back before.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's historically not a good place for us to go. So sitting here like this, a draw would be a good result, but I don't think we can be sitting there thinking about draws are a good result. The other week it was like we're sitting in fourth, so it don't matter, we're picking up points. We're in 12th, mate. Another week or two of this, by the end of next weekend, we could be sitting down with the West Ham. And, it's a lonely place down there. Not good. So, no, I'm not up for a draw tonight. I'll take it if that's what the result is, but no, I'm not up for it.
Yeah, I mean, to you, Dave, is a point sort of kind of what you're hoping for in this game, or with where we are in the table, with how poor our form has been in the Premier League, do we have to be potentially asking for more than just a point tonight?
Look, don't get me wrong. I'll take the point, to Martin's point, Now, I know this one was at the end of a season and our season was already done, but we got smacked up there under Pochettino at the end of one campaign by 5, smacked up there under Stellini, slapped up there under Ange. We don't travel well to Newcastle. At the end of the day, the reason why is they stick it on us. They come and pressure the living crap out of us, and they know we're going to make mistakes. They know we're going to give up the ball. The whole thing is, do we have a way around that today? But in general, in terms of the pressure around the club, the environment around the club, the booing at the weekend, the pressure that's on Thomas Frank, the pressure that's on these players, I'll take a draw, but it's not enough. Like to Martin's point, if things don't go well tonight, and say things don't go well on the weekend, all of a sudden you're sitting down in 15th and you're no better off than where you were last year, and you've accelerated quickly to that. And that wasn't the plan by bringing in Thomas Frank. The plan was to kick on, get up the top end of the table, start challenging for Europe, which highlights how drastically things have gone wrong. It was only 2 international breaks ago when I was sitting there saying the way we're playing is not sustainable. Shut up, Dave. We're sitting 4th. What are you talking about? Now we're sitting in 12th, which highlights how drastically things have gone wrong. The pressure is on. And when the pressure's on, it's only winning games that save your ass. They need to try and go up there and dig something out tonight and get that win. But worst case scenario, I'll take the draw. Just do not fucking lose tonight and give us some hope heading into Brentford on the weekend.
Yeah. Late Wayne Bonner saying, I'd be happy with a point, but I want to see some fight, some passion, some pride with everything left on the pitch. I definitely agree with you there. Dan Coy's, good to see you in here as well. He's just hopping in. Really appreciate you, man. Thanksgiving was great. It was actually nice to take a week off the Spurs, really. Like I said, I kind of missed out on the PSG game. PSG game looked like a lot of fun despite the result. I am selfishly kind of happy that I missed the Fulham game, really, to be honest, Dan Coy's, because I was saying to Dave like a week or two ago, I'm worried about Spurs and Thomas Frank if we lost that Fulham game, and turns out we did. Iceman, really appreciate you. Hopefully you're doing okay. Thanks for being here with us in the house. We also have Paul Van Ben. Big up to you, Paul. Hopefully everything's all right with you. And then Martin Knightsbridge, he's saying, come on, you Spurs. Love to watch along. Lads. Or, sorry, Taylor Knightsbridge, your brother.
That's my first goal. That's not me.
That's the young lad.
Big up, Taylor. Really appreciate you, man. And hopefully you'll be in here for the watch along as we navigate and go through the Spurs roller coasters, Taylor. Really appreciate your extra support. Dermotron, I'll throw a slightly different question at you. Last time we played them in the League Cup, we put out a weakened lineup, but I actually felt like we managed to stay in the game for the most part. Do you think this Newcastle team is beatable?
At home, no, because they've won the last 6. I think in that League Cup game, they put out a quite weakened side as well, if I remember. That's yes, true. Newcastle have 5 players out for this game, but You play Newcastle and you've got no confidence. You going up there, you're on a hiding to nothing. Look, I would take a point as well. I'd grab your hand off now for a point, but I can't see us winning. I hate saying it. I hate thinking it. I hate even coming out of my gob. I hate it. I don't know. Something's got to give, and I think tonight might be tonight where I think it all comes to a head. I really do. I hope not, but I just got this feeling it may do it. I was saying earlier, we were seeing the first 5-10 minutes of these Spurs players are up for this game tonight. We will know pretty quickly if they're up for it or not. But I don't know. Every delusional part of my body is telling me we're going to win, but my head's bigger than my delusional body, and it's look, we can't get win tonight. A point, take it. And this Newcastle side, won the last 6 at home, they're going to be confident as hell, and they're going to have a United fan base as well behind them. That is the issue. They're going to have a major United. They're going to have a United fan base, and we're going to crumble again under the noise. Hopefully not, but that's how I see it.
Just on that, Jay,
I went to the happy clapper on that one, Dave, and Dermotron. He's even satisfying Leighton Evelyn saying, "Well done, Dermot."
I know something was. I mean, I can't believe me and Leighton agree on something. Jesus.
Sorry, Dave. Yeah.
The difference between that game is I know some people would say we put out a weekend lineup. Frank doesn't see it as a weekend lineup. He sees it as rotation. But the reality is we're not in a good place tonight, whereas they made 8 changes for that game and they still played us off the park. They're going to play their strongest team tonight. They're going to look to use this game as a springboard to kick on and really challenge for them Champions League spots again. And, that's why I think, it's very hard to judge it off the sort of League Cup game, because they are going to be a hell of a lot stronger tonight. They will play Gameras in that midfield. They will play Joel Linton. Them two didn't play against us in the Cup game. Even Anthony Gordon will probably come in as well, and players like that. So it's going to be a much different task today. The only thing I don't want to see is just the way we've crumbled up there in years gone by. At least show some heart, some fight, some spirit, because I think if we crumble like we have done up there in years gone by, this whole thing is done. We have to try and show some fight and some spirit tonight. And that's where I worry, because the mentality around the club is extremely fragile and extremely weak. And they've took advantage of that in years gone by. That was it under Stellini. I think we lost 5-0 or something like that. Yeah. Lloris quit at half-time that night. You know what I mean? It just goes to show when the pressure's on us heading into this fixture notoriously, we absolutely buckle and crumble. And this year, I'd argue, the mentality is even more fragile than in years gone by. And that's where I slightly have the concerns tonight. But hopefully they can just pull the rabbit out of the bag. I'm not being funny, but I'm hoping that booing and what happened at the stadium against Fulham will actually start fucking igniting something within that dressing room to come out and try and prove people wrong. What I don't want is them guys going, fuck the fans, and then throwing this club under the bus, because if they do that, they will hear more of it going forward.
What do you think, Martin? Is every team beatable? Is this Newcastle team beatable? Because maybe I'm being ridiculous, but I felt like if we hadn't put in a weakened lineup against Newcastle, I just wonder maybe if that could have actually turned out differently, because I felt like we did sort of stay in that game. So do you think this team is beatable, or do you kind of agree with the others that Dave mentioned it, they made a lot of rotations, to be fair?
On paper, every team on their day can win in the Premier League. That's the good thing about the Premier League. There is a form guide, but, people can just turn up and have a one-off. And I think for us to do it, it will be a one-off in recent form. Now, just to touch on what Dave was saying with the mentality being fractured and all this, it was only a few months ago they were all standing on the top of that bus, all right, playing that trophy round, thinking they were the best in Europe, and we're all singing they're the best in Europe. Now, fast forward, it's the same year, just had a summer, and 12 games in, 13 games in, they're all now looking at the fans and can't, something ain't right there. So the winning that cup has done nothing for them mentally, because they don't feel that they're better. They've obviously accepted that they were crap last year. They've won the trophy and they're going to be crap again this year. That's just looking at it from the outside in. But yeah, my fear for tonight is Newcastle are bullies in the middle of that park, right? Joe Linton and people like that, and Gimeras with his passing and things like that. they worry me in there, because if you're going to put the youngsters in like we have, Gray and Bergvall, that are going to have no chance. Right? They're just really going to get bullied off the ball. And then if he does this 4-2-2 thing, they've got speed down the wings. Now that worries me again, because if we do a Doggy or Porro or Spence, whatever, start going up and there's a gap behind, we ain't got it. We're going to be in trouble. Do you know what I mean? And it's then they're the big physical side. And then you've got the set pieces with 6'6" Dan Burn and all that coming up. Just there's so many areas naturally we are weaker than them in. As I say, 90 minutes, 11v11. Of course we can go and win. Is it likely? Does it fill me with confidence that we can? No, it don't. And I hate feeling like that. I really do. But it's just being realistic. They are a physical and fast team. And we're a disjointed, slow, can't put a pass together team at the minute.
Eddie Howe has the blueprint as well, you know, and even when they come down to our place, what do? They come and press the living crap out of our goalkeeper and our back line and force us into a game we don't want to play usually. And we usually crumble under that pressure. And that's where Eddie Howe has the game plan, and he's rinsed and repeated it home and away, and it's worked wonders for them against us.
That's another worry. That's actually a fair point, that he has just sort of gone with the same game plan each time, and for the most part, it has worked. AK Sheck saying, my heart says we have a chance, but my brain says to start all the Newcastle players in my fantasy team. That might end up being, unfortunately, the comment of the night, AK. We do appreciate humor in times like this. MKP saying, if we could scrape a draw tonight, that would be something we can build upon. At some point, this bad form will turn around. Hope it's tonight. I think it would go a long way to get a point tonight, that's for sure. And then Alan Leslie, as a member, is joining us in evening, guys. 1-1 tonight. Off to the pub now to see James Black playing tonight pregame for Glasgow Spurs.
Nice.
Only part of the night I am looking forward to. That's class, Alan Leslie. Hopefully you have a good time. Hopefully you pick up a result, but at least you get to enjoy yourself with the lovely James Black. Dropkick Your Teacher saying, are you guys afraid of getting dragged into a relegation battle? We have more points at this stage of last season, and we could be 15th by the end. Well, there is kind of a question on that, Dermatron, and that when you sort of look at the table, we sit 12th in the table, level on points with Newcastle. We're 1 point behind 10th place Brentford, who we play this weekend. We're officially a third way through the season already. How important is it that we pick up maybe some around 4 points? Maybe would be a realistic expectation in the next two games, because yeah, I mean, we dangerously could slip into the bottom end of the table. I'm not sure about relegation, but definitely towards the bottom end of the table.
We're only 4 points above it. 5 points above relegation right now. That could be closed up within a week.
Maybe I'm happy clapping too much, Dermatron. Is this relegation conversation valid?
I don't think so, because I think if you get results tonight and win Saturday, you're up that table. The Premier League is so tight anyway. I think it's valid to say that we could end up where we finished up last season. Yeah, but no team's too big to go down. That's one of the old sayings. But I don't think we are in a relegation battle. I don't think we're that bad. But I think that, to Martin's point, that there is a lot of, are these players up for that sort of a fight? That's the question I would ask. If we were dragged into that sort of 17th place again, they proved last season they weren't up for the fight. I don't think we will. I think we're big enough and good enough to actually get out of this and actually end up. You get a win, then you're 2-3 places up in the Premier League. It's so tight this year, and this is the weird thing about the Premier League. It is very tight. You get a win, you're up in the top half of the league. I mean, and you lose, and you're back down there again. But no, I don't think we are in the relegation fight, Jack. But I would ask, have the players got the stomach for the fight? And they haven't, in my view.
I think that was the worry last season, is that if we did get dragged into a relegation battle, luckily we didn't have to really worry about that, because I think it was statistically impossible. But I think Dave and others did mention, like, do we really look like one of those clubs with the set of players to be able to handle that type of pressure, to be able to handle that sort of pressure? I'm not sure. People saying, Nick is saying, people think we aren't in trouble. I tried to imagine what would happen if Van de Ven, Palhinha, or Kudus were to get injured. Dave, I mean, do you agree with our artist T? Like, is it a conversation around relegation?
Oh, look, the way I'd analyze this, Jack, is I look at the Premier League table, right? Literally, we're about 4 or 5 points off really going up to the top end of the table and kicking on. But we're also only 5 points off the bottom. And when you look at the trajectory of what we've been on over the last couple of months, when you don't score goals and you're conceding them like sweets at the other end, you're banging trouble. You are banging trouble. If you do not score goals or carry a threat up the other end, which we're not, and you're conceding, it's only heading one way. All the stats are telling us we are in relegation form. You know, it's nowhere near good enough. So, like, we can sit here and say, yeah, we're only 2 wins off the top. That's more based off hopium and not what we're actually seeing.
Yeah.
If I'm basing off what we're actually seeing, and if we are only a couple of more key players away, you're banging trouble. And to be quite honest with you, I don't back the players' mentality to drag themselves out of it. And I certainly don't think we've got the manager to drag ourselves out of it as well. So I think, you know, bad week this week, you are staring at that. All the stats are pointing at that. They're going to have to make a change in manager. They're just going to have to. It's that simple. You know, it's not so long ago, Nottingham Forest were down there. Bringing Sean Dyche, all of a sudden they're looking up a little bit. You know, West Ham were rooted to the bottom of the table. Bring in Nuno, all of a sudden they're looking up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just hope we're brave enough to sort of make that decision, because I'm not going to sit here and base mine off hope. I warned 2 international breaks how it was going, where it was going, what the stats were pointing out to us, you know. And since then, it's just keep going one way. There's not one stat out there or not one green shoot out there that isn't based off feeling or anything like that, that says we're going to start pushing up that table with the way we're playing and stuff like that. So for me, it is a genuine fear. If teams keep going like this for another couple of weeks, then all of a sudden you're in that battle. What do you do then? Because I don't back these players to get us out of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
On that, can I just say, Dave, on that, we've been in decline, I'd say, over the last 12 months, even under Ranch. And look, you go back to the 70s, and we were great in the first part of the 70s. Then there was this steady decline of Tottenham, you know, up to 77 when we got relegated. We could have got relegated in 75, we didn't. 76, we could have, we didn't. 77, it happened under Birkinshaw. But the thing is, any manager we bring in, if we do replace Thomas Frank, how is he going to get something out of these players when we know these players are not up for a fight? We know these players haven't got the stomach for a fight. So we're sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Stop taking gambles. They took a gamble with Ange. They took a gamble with Frank. Both backfired. Stop taking gambles.
Yeah, but tell me then, if you sack Thomas Frank, right, who do you bring in to replace him? Because whoever you bring in, you could bring in Zinedine Zidane, but he's still not going to get anything out of these players because these players don't give a shit.
You have to try.
I know we have to try, though. I know we have to try. I get that, but the point is, again, it points to these players don't have the stomach for a fight. We've seen it again and again.
We'll get on to the player conversation.
Yeah, sorry. The tactics aren't there. Sorry, just quickly. The tactics ain't there either. Yeah, we don't lay a glove on the opposition going forward. Can barely even muster up an attack, let alone a fucking shot on goal. We're relying on set pieces and throw-ins. They haven't yielded anything in recent weeks. You know, the tactics are not helping the situation either. You know, we sit back out of possession. We drop the line so that the strikers are literally sitting on top of the midfielders. The midfielders are literally sitting on top of the defenders. You know, and then when we get the ball and we look to get up the field, there's no game plan. It's chopped and changed every single game to the point where these players don't even know what they're doing anymore. And you can see that on the football pitch. And at the end of the day, you know, I get the question, who else is out there? And of course, you're not going to sack a manager unless there's someone else available. But the fact that there's already reports come out after the Arsenal game saying the players have asked Frank to start focusing on what they're good at rather than the opposition hold. I'm not being funny, but if I'm sitting in that dressing room and Thomas Frank is sitting there telling me the threats of Wolves, you know, when they haven't scored and they hadn't picked up any points coming into that game, I'm sitting there scratching my fucking head. I'm going ballistic. I'm like, are we really respecting them this much? And that's the problem. We respect every opposition far too much. There is a time and a place to respect it when you're going into the big games. But every other game, we should be backing ourselves, you know, to go and have enough to beat these teams. Now, I know people point at last year, but last year, we literally sacked off a Premier League to go in the Europa League. If we sacked off the Europa League and concentrated on the Premier League, we wouldn't have been anywhere near 17th. We would have been finished. I'm not going to say we're going to be top, you know, up at the top end of the table, but literally the Europa League is the reason why we're fucking in Europe this year. Yeah, that's why the Europa League winning that is the reason why we got Paulinho, Kudos, teams like that. But Frank already gave up one of the cup competitions, so you know, and we're already doing shit in the league. We're doing shit across the board. No, you know, what looked rosy at the start of the Champions League campaign. Now, all of a sudden, we don't know if we're going to get outside the top 8 or not. That should have been done and dusted already by beating the likes of Bodo Glimt and not dropping points in them stupid games, which gives you a much better chance. It's just not working. And you can't just keep a guy in the job for the sake of that. At some point, you got to look at absolutely everything and go, it's not working. Even if we don't have the squad, you've got to try something. And at the end of the day, I'm around a long time enough to know that the manager is the first one to go, because you pay him at most his 10 million, and it's cheaper than what it is to go out and fix all your issues. And at the end of the day, we might not even get Frank to January at this point. And we can sit here and say we're relying on injuries to come back and improve the situation. Maddison, okay, he had some good games last year. But how many times was he not available? How many times did he not turn up for us? Kulusevski, everyone's relying on him. It was only before he went on a run last preseason where me and Jack stuck our neck above the parapet to say, don't sell this guy. The whole fan base want him gone. Now, all of a sudden, the whole fan base is sitting here waiting for this guy to come in and save our bacon. At the end, if we have a bad day this week, we've got to change, Mandrew. You can't keep going this way.
I agree.
Well, you agree now, but 2 international breaks ago, you were telling the likes of me, Jerome, and stuff to happy clap. It's fine. We're sitting in 4th.
Yeah, it's how I support the team, Dave. I'm allowed to support the team how I support.
1 second. Even though we've tried to pre-warn the way this is going and all the stats and everything else, at the end of the day, we're here now. The stats have catched up on us. What we don't do has catched up on us. And we've got to win games. We're under pressure now. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, I support how I see how I support team how I support it. Nobody's going to tell me how to back my team.
I'm not telling you how to support, but you're sitting there
let
going,
me finish, Dave.
I'm Frank out before everybody, but only
let me finish. Come on, I give you time to let me finish. Let me finish.
But you didn't. You interrupted me.
I agree mostly what you're saying. Nine times out of 10, I agree what you're saying. And I agree we're all frustrated. I agree we're all angry. I agree we want better. Of course we do. We're all pissed off. We're all hurting. We're all wanting the best from the team. We're all not looking forward to tonight. I get that more than everyone. I've been around long enough, seen enough shit teams in my time to know that, we're hurting at losing positions. And what you say, 95, 96% of it, I agree with. I totally agree with. But the point I'm making, these players, whoever you bring in, this group of players don't have the stomach for a fight. It's been proven. They proved it under Ange and they proved it under Frank. They don't have a stomach. You got Porro coming out telling us how to support the team. I mean, excuse me, he should be better. He should be putting in better performances than he has been. I agree. I don't know what the fix is, and the fix could be new owners, Dave. It could be new owners completely. We always went to Daniel Levy in these situations. We don't know about these owners, but this cannot continue. We've got no idea going forward. We've got no ideas going back. Players again are throwing another manager under the bus. I don't know how many times we've seen this over the years where they keep throwing managers under the bus. Yes, it's cheaper to sack a manager than it is to sell a player. But something is so wrong with this football club from top to bottom that what is it? It's like a cancer going through the club, and it kills me. It kills you. It kills Martin. It kills Jack. It kills people in the chat. We cannot go on like this. We've been a laughing stock for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. We had the only time we were successful in United was under Pochettino. When Pochettino left, it went to shit. Manager every 2 years or under 18 months, we sacked another manager. We sacked Conte. We sacked Mourinho. We sacked Nuno after 4 months. We brought Ange in. We weren't happy with Ange, with the gung-ho football. Won us a trophy. We were lucky to win the Europa League, but we'll take it because we're dying for trophies. Winning that trophy, as good as it was, has made some of these players think they're better than they are, and they're not. And Thomas Frank has come in, and these players are confused, they're bamboozled, as you say, and they don't have a clue. Well, do me a favour. You're wearing the shirt that we've loaned you. Get a pair of balls. Go out there and give it your all. I've seen shit teams in the 90s, Dave, under Jerry Francis, Ozzy Ardiles. There was more fight under Ozzy Ardiles' team, and we nearly got relegated in his first season, than I've seen in this lot. And I'm sorry, these are overpaid prima donnas that don't deserve to wear the Tottenham shirt. And as soon as they get it through their thick skull, that is we're the club, not them, the sooner it'll be better off, because some of these players do not deserve to be footballers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and I wasn't disagreeing with you, Dave, but I'm angry.
We'll get on
I'm
to the
angry with
question
this.
of the. We'll get on to the questions of the players that Dermotron is making there about whether
Sorry.
they have the integrity or not. We do have questions later on for that. Iceman saying we have been in decline since the 20th of September. We had 15 points. Then we are now on 18 points. Fair point there from Iceman. AK Sheg saying seasonal depression is already happening in the UK and Ireland. Come on, lads. Game day. Come on, you Spurs. That's why I'm trying to let the sun hit my face as much as possible here, AK, even though I'm being blinded by it. I need the sun to give me some hope. DJ Samuel saying, praying we turn up tonight. Then we also had a comment here from Ryan Trestane. Appreciate your support, Ryan. I'm just going to bookmark this for later because I do have a question later on about the quality of the players that you and I were debating about last night. I have a very good question for it. Really appreciate your support, Rhino. And then Leighton Evelyn saying, when is our next win coming? Let's be honest. I mean, that's what sort of the original question was there, Martin Knightsbridge, is kind of these next two games are almost kind of a must need 4 points, I would say.
Well,
like I think 4 points is necessary.
I said on Saturday, these next 3 games determine how our season turns out and how his job turns out. And we lost the first one, and this was one of the ones that I didn't think we were going to lose because I thought the Newcastle is never a good place, and if we get a draw up there, it'd be great. The Brentford one, I think there's going to be so much pressure on him personally, wanting to prove and do well, and at the same time, Keith Andrews, who is doing a good job, it is Keith Andrews, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's going to want to prove a point and say, look, lads, they all left for this and this big spaceship here. Look, we're going to turn them over. Now, so that's an ego battle and things. So I thought the Fulham one was going to be the easiest 3 points mentally for him to do. Now, we are got the 2 hardest games out them ones, and that is it's got to be a minimum 4 points, whether it's a win tonight and a draw the week. It has to be, because if we get nothing out of Saturday, tonight, and the weekend, and other people start picking up them points, we are quickly down now. As quick as we have gone from 4th down to 12th, you know, we went down 2 places without even playing the other day. It's just like we finished on Saturday in 10th, and then by the end of the weekend, we've gone down, and there's nothing we can do about it. The Premier League's so close that it's vital for him. And I'm not saying that it's going to cost him his job and putting that pressure on him. But for us as the fans, and as I said, it's twofold. It depends. Our season is pivotal on these 3 matches. His job at the same time in another parallel universe is, you know, in jeopardy because of it. But for us as fans, we've just got to sit there and think that. So then after that, I think we've got Liverpool as well. And, you know, I know it's Liverpool and everyone's giving them a tonking, but do you think we are? It's like Liverpool went to West Ham the weekend. Who can we play that's going to do us a right turn? Oh, Spurs and West Ham. We're that team. And I don't think anyone fears us. And coming to the White Hart Lane, I don't think no one fears going there. I think they actually relish going there and go, oh, let's have a nice night off. We've got these lovely facilities. We've got all these big changing rooms. We've got this, that, now we're going to play on this big pitch. Our fans are going to be right in the corner, cheering us right on the side. This is great. And then Spurs have got their fans booing them and this, that, and the other. And it's in there. They must be relishing it, like rubbing their hands going, oh, we've got it here, boys. Like that goal, Harry Wilson goal. The shot, you know what I mean? It was fantastic. But where was the players running in to protect Vic? Or if they'd seen him out, there's enough of them there to go, I'll go and put a body on the line. At least look like I'm try and get an header. So no one's sniffing out danger. There's so many worrying signs. As it goes, if you've done a list of your pros and cons at the minute, the old pros list could be a very short list. Do you know what I mean? And we're feeling it, so they must be feeling it, and they must know it. And whether that's standing in the centre circles, them showing solidarity, I'm not too sure. Or was it us against Frank rather than us against the fans? I don't know. We don't know what's going on behind it, but we can only see what we're seeing, and we've got to try and read between the lines without going crazy and making up a load of tosh. But something's happening. It's either them against us or them against him. And I think the Jed Spence and the Van der Ven one the other week was, they didn't want to sort of clap the fans. No, I think that was a Frank issue. Now, looking back, with the beauty of hindsight, do you know what I mean? So I'm worried. There's a lot of things that worry me there. And I don't know, hand on heart, I don't know where the next win is coming from because I can't see one. I can't see anything that gives me confidence to say, yeah, well, look down the fixtures. We get one in 3 games' time, 2 games. Because I think everyone's thinking, well, let's go to Tottenham. It's a great time to go and get 3 points.
Yeah, even the eternal optimist, King Hoddle, agrees with you, Martin, saying in terms of tonight, my prediction is pain. Well, there it is, Leighton Evelyn. Yeah. I think even though you're a resident happy clapper, Leighton, I think a lot of people are agreeing with you that I just think we're at this point in the season, Leighton, where like it might be a tough ask, but we put ourselves in a position here where we kind of have to be expecting points from these next few games if we are to believe that Spurs can challenge in the top 10 sort of area, right? I think we do have to try. It will be difficult, but I think we have to try to get a point from this game, and then we have to get 3 points against Brentford, really. Like, it's just, no matter how poor the form is, no matter how ridiculous that sounds, because I don't think a lot of people do have much confidence right now, if we don't pick up points from these next few games, I am dangerously worried about where this season could be headed, to be honest, Leighton. And that's saying, I'm not saying I'm confident or anything. It's just the fact of the reality is, like, where we sit in the table, it's slipping either direction, really. So we need to be getting points no matter what. And it's bad when King Hoddle is even sharing the same opinions as Martin there in terms of pain.
We're getting ourselves into the same situation Man United were in for quite some time. And I think Martin hit the nail on the head. We're not respected away from home. We're not respected at home. And that there leaves a huge problem because you're going into every game, and every game is an uphill battle. Every game is even more of a fight, especially when teams believe that they can get something out of you, especially when they don't set up to respect you. You know, that then leads to problems. And we're in the midst of that right now.
And then Dropkick Your Teacher here, Dave, saying, thoughts on this? If we lose the next few games and he's still in the dugout, Vinay needs to be questioned. At that point, it's about stopping the bleeding, not even improving. That's 18 to 19 is up. For that 18th or 19th position is up for grabs at the minute.
Look, what I will say, Artist T, is there's no guarantee if we do change manager, and this is where I'm going to be fair. There is no guarantee that if we do change manager, that things will get any better. You know, I know like Xavi is one that's banded about, but that's a huge risk. Never managed in the Premier League. You'd like to give that guy a bit more of a preseason rather than just throwing him straight in the deep end and trying to get his ideas and that across and stuff like that. So, and there's no, like I said, there's no guarantee you change manager, things are going to get better. At the end of the day, you know, these players also need to take a long, hard look at themselves. And I just wonder how damaged some of them are because of the interactions with the fan base and stuff like that. I just wonder how motivated some of them are now and stuff. And if you don't have a dressing room that's motivated in that regard, then you're in huge fucking trouble. You're in huge trouble. And at the end of the day, we don't have a Son or a Kane or a personnel that's been around here for quite some time out on that pitch to really fucking keep players in check, to really, you know, try and spark or pull a group together and say, lads, this isn't acceptable. We don't have that guy in the dressing room anymore. We are at the will of players that we brought in over the last couple of years to try and do that for us. But at the same time, if you are careering down that way, you've got to try and do something to affect it. You can't just keep it going that way. And to be honest with you, you know, I'm one of them. I'm like, everyone will say, I'll get Frank to January. I'm very hesitant to give him a Semenyo and another player in the forward area. He can't get anything out of Kudos. He can't get anything out of Mawani. Xavi Simons was a guy he was begging for, you know, in terms of a player in that cam position. He doesn't even fit him into the team. He doesn't even know what to do with the guy. So I'm very hesitant to give him that money. Like, if we can't do anything going forward, and I know we were atrocious last year, but we didn't have a Mawani. We didn't have a Kudos. We didn't have a Simons. I think if we had them last year, we probably would have been a bit better going forward. So for me, I think at some point, you know, even if it might not guarantee change, you've got to take the gamble. And it's sad that we're here. We're fucking Tottenham Hotspur. We've got a 60,000 seater stadium. We're off the back of a Europa League. We shouldn't be here. Should have used that Europa League to kick on.
Yeah,
we failed.
I've only gone backwards, if not sideways, if not backwards at this point. Very, very generous support, Artist T. Really do appreciate you. And anybody else that's in the house, if you want to interrupt the conversation, get in your opinions, your thoughts, you're welcome to do what Artist T has done and others have done and put in a super chat, or just ask us any questions in the chat. Trying my best to bring up lots of your comments. There are some actually funny ones as well, which is putting me in a decent mood as well, considering the levity of the situation that we're in. We have over 370 in the house at the moment on YouTube, and plenty that are watching also on Twitter. If you can, smash the like button for us, please. And if you are on Twitter or on X, feel free to follow us over to the YouTube sphere. AK Shags, by the way, Martin saying, loving the Rocky shirt, but I'm afraid that we're more Apollo Creed versus Drago vibes at the moment. When also,
I'm trying.
Ben is saying,
Martin,
when
we
I hear
listened
our
to that
fans
song.
talking about Kulu and getting matters back, I just know we're already up Schitt's Creek. It's a fair point. Ed Sweeting saying, I don't think it's fight. It's the clarity of the objectives. And most importantly, the player's ability. Confidence is also now starting to play a role. We'll get to that question. I know I've been bookmarking this one, and I promise we'll get to it. I just have a couple more that I want to still get to, maybe just around sort of maybe the expectations of the season. And this is what Thomas Frank had to say. He's come out and said that the expectations might be too high for Spurs at the moment. He said, you can say there's always a challenge when there are big expectations. No problem with big expectations if you have also earned the right to really compete for those big expectations, which I think is fair to say we haven't done. I said it near the start. We have not been able to compete in a cup tournament and Europe and the Premier League in the last 6 years. Going to you first on this one, Dave, since you were gone for a second there. Do Spurs fans have too high of expectations? The board chose to sack Ange Postecoglou for not competing on all fronts last season. So are the fans just simply following the expectations that the board has laid out?
I think the fans are the only ones that actually uphold standards and expectations at this football club. Everyone else inside the club, managers, players, owners, chairmen, they all make excuses on why we can't be great. You know, at the end of the day, we've got the best football stadium in world football. We've got some of the best training complex in world football, which is there to enhance performance. We brought in all this money so that we can go and compete up the top of the Premier League, so that we can compete across Europe and the domestic cups. Now, I take it, you know, maybe some of us are, or maybe a lot of us are all guilty of sort of still thinking we are where we were under Pochettino. Maybe that there is an element to that, and we are certainly far from that. But the more this guy opens up his mouth in press conferences, the more I keep hearing Brentford fuck off back there, because I'm absolutely fed up. It was only last week he said you should only expect 12 good games over a 60-game season, 30 mediocre games. I mean, what sort of shit is that at a Big Six club? And then you hear off the back of here, well, we have too high of an expectation. It was only 4 months ago the guy came in and acknowledged the Europa League win and said we need to build off the shoulders of that. You know, and it was only 6 months ago we won the Europa League. Now, all of a sudden, he's saying we have too high expectations. Granted, most Spurs fans are realistic. We know we can't compete across all 4 competitions. We know eventually we're going to get knocked out of some along the way. But we've been shit in every competition. We were shit pre-season to watch. We've been shit this year in the Premier League. We've been shit in the Champions League. And we knocked out the Carabao Cup at the first sign of expectation. I'm sorry. To say we have too many expectations to at least compete in one of them, go and fuck yourself, Thomas Frank. And especially off the back of coming out after the game at the weekend saying some people who boo for Cario aren't proper Tottenham fans. Who the fuck does that guy think he is when they're paying thousands of fucking quid a year to be able to follow this club through thick and thin? Who the fuck did, and the Porro as well, it was another one. Who does he think he is coming out and saying that as well? These guys are here temporarily. We were here before them, we'll be here after them. And after everything, when everything goes wrong, the manager has a blame at the fans. The players have a pop at the fans. In years gone by, Daniel Levy has had a pop at the fans. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any fan influence in match day tactics, how we set up out of possession, what we do in possession. I don't think any of the fans are wearing that full kit out there playing the 90 minutes that them fuckers are. I don't think any of the fans are in the boardroom dictating who they bring in as manager, or what signings we bring in. The fans are the ones that pay to be here. We're the only ones that uphold standards. And the reason why they got booed the other day is because they're falling well below them standards. To sit here and say our expectations are too high is disingenuous from Thomas Frank, and in my opinion, is to try and keep him in the job a bit longer. And I'm not having it. We are not fucking Brentford Football Club. I said when we were getting this guy, he needs to drag himself up to a top 6 standard in terms of how he plays, mentality, and everything else. And he has failed to tick any of them boxes for me since arriving. I am not having that. We need to lower our expectations when we are paying some of the highest money to follow this football club. And that's where the expectations come from. We built the new stadium, so we were told, so we can go and compete with everybody across Europe. That's why we brought in the training complex. And now all of a sudden we have everything in place and we've got a donut in charge telling us to lower expectations. I'm not fucking having it. It doesn't wash with me. If you want that, go and manage a Brentford or a team scrapping above relegation. I'm not fucking having that mentality anywhere near the club. It's a loser's mentality from him. I'm not having it.
I just think the fans are following what the board has done, really, by sacking Ange for the reasons they gave, which was he wasn't competing on all fronts. He chose to prioritize the competition. by that measure, then the next manager you're bringing in, surely then is a guy that you're expecting to be able to then compete.
They set the expectation. They set that expectation.
Right.
Ange
So
won the trophy. Ange wasn't good enough in the league. We're getting Thomas Frank in to compete on all four fronts because Ange couldn't, basically, is what they said. Thomas Frank stood there, took all the plaudits and all this. Yet we're going to build on what we've done. And my remit is this. 3 months into it, he's going, fucking, you lot need to calm down a bit. Who do you think you are? You just need to lower your expectations. We're fucking, you know what I mean? You ain't who you. And it comes from them. So it's so fucking rich for him to come out and say that when he come in off the back of the expectations being set. Because he can't fulfill them, he's having a dig at us.
Yeah.
Like it's our fault. You haven't met your expectations. That is your employer has give you that remit. You're not doing it. You can't go and blame the paying fans that go out in the cold, wind and rain and travel all around Europe following them and then have a go at them and say, listen, let's get back in your box. It don't work like that. I'm sorry. It's just, I was one like Frank, but he is, in the last couple of weeks, he is really doing a job on me. And I just can't.
Out of his depth. He's just out of his depth. Yeah. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
No, it's it. I said to you the other day, I don't want to say he's out his depth, he's out his comfort zone. But then that was before what happened and what he said after. And that I watched it on Ricky Sachs' show. Yeah. The quote of when he said, "Oh, they're not real Tottenham fans." I thought that was a one-off, but he also went and done it on Sky Sports in the match review. So it's something he's thought about. It wasn't a one-off, and I shouldn't have said that. He's repeated it. So he's believing it. Do you know what I mean? So they're coming out and backing his player and saying it in a different way. He's come out and then now, 2 days later, in his press conference, they've asked him, what do you think? He's going, well, you divine a real fan. I don't, you know, it's like, he's just dodging it. And then now he's saying, lower your expectations. No, you're the one who can't raise your expectations. So you want to bring us down to that level. Not good enough. Not good enough.
And that's where for me, it's astonishing at the end of the day. It really is, you know, like he's coming in here and he's implying what is acceptable at Brentford at Tottenham Hotspur. Now I get we're not a team that's going to go and win the Champions League. We're not a team that's even going to win the Premier League. I get it, right? I fucking get it. But we're nowhere near as bad as he's making it out to be. And he's also lowering expectations at this football club, which should never happen. Never, ever happen. It was only not so long ago. He acknowledged the Europa League. He acknowledged the fact that he needed to build off the back of that and he needed to bring, you know, he said himself, he put the pressure on himself. You know, the challenge for me now is to go on and win more silverware. He put that on himself. Most people wasn't even expecting him to say that. They were going to give him a free pass for a large part of this season. But he's the one that said all that a couple of months ago when he got the job. When he spoke about the players, we've got some fantastic players here. You know, this, that, and the other. Now, all of a sudden, he's making excuses for underperforming. And I get, you know, the players deserve a massive part of the blame. Let's not let them get away from it either, by the way. They've had multiple managers where this same shit keeps happening, right? They don't get away from criticism either. But simply the way they've been set up all season long is setting us up for failure. It's setting us up to respect every opposition we play against. Like we're Brentford. We're not that. I'm sorry. We're just not.
I'm just confused. I'm just confused because if they were to have sacked Ange because they felt like he just wasn't doing the remit, which is to compete on all competitions, then Thomas Frank has to follow those same expectations. And the fact that he's saying that then the expectations are too high. So we're like, well, why did you take the job in the first place then if you felt like the expectations are too high?
If he's saying that to us, what, temper your expectations there, is he going up into the board and saying, listen, we're not going to meet what they want. Let's go and give all them season ticket holders 50% off their prices because they're not really getting what they're, you know, paying for. He ain't doing that. He's not doing that. It's just all one-sided to cover him, and I don't like it. I really don't like it.
A lot of people really loved what Dave had to say there. Even MKP saying, great monologue, worthy of a short from Davo. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for showing the love. And again, while you're coming in here, feel free to give us your thoughts. If you disagree, agree, or just want to sort of be amongst Spurs fans during these difficult times. I think we're going to have to, even though I had some other questions around Frank and everything, we might go back to it. But Ryan has brought it up. Paul Van Ben has brought it up here. Every manager since Pochettino has been left short. And then also Ryan saying we need quality players and we simply don't have enough. Even Dermatron went to the player rant just earlier, so might as well just have to skip towards it. There was a lot of debate last night on the fan show, Martin and Dermotron, about whether the squad is good enough to be competing high up in the table. Do you think the squad is good enough to challenge for the top 6, Dermotron? Even if you don't, wasn't that part of the remit with bringing in Thomas Frank in the first place, is that he was supposed to get more out of, let's say, less than average players or average players than the previous manager could?
Yeah, firstly, can I apologise? I had headphone problems. That's why I had to dip in and dip out again because they weren't connecting. So I couldn't hear any of Dave's rant. So we'll go back and watch it. I'm sure
Better off
it is
for it,
worth.
lad.
I'm sure it is worth the rant. Watch the. You should start paying people, charging people for your rants, Dave. You'll be a billionaire by the end of the season. Look, to go to your question, no manager is going to get anything out of this team unless we get new owners. I've said it the day Daniel Levy said it, and everyone's saying, "Oh, let's give Enoch time. Let's give this new ownership time. Let's give them to next summer." No, I'm sorry. They are the same issue as Daniel Levy. They're going hand in hand together. Levy had to work off an Enoch remit. That's what he did. Now Levy took it to the extreme. We had world greatest managers: Mourinho, Conte. Okay, Nuno was a garden gnome. He has proved me wrong a little bit, but he still wasn't good for us. We've had Ange, and now we've got Frank. All we had to do was back Poch. All we had to do was back him with a bit of money to get the players he wanted to take this team on to the next level. The last season at the Lane, we went unbeaten in that season. Didn't lose first time in 50 odd years, 52, 53 years. We went unbeaten at the Lane. All he asking for, give me a bit of money. Let me get 3 or 4 players in to replace some of the players in this squad, and let's carry on. But no, we don't. And I'm sorry, under Enoch, this ownership, we're never going to get the team that we truly want. No manager is going to be backed because of the ownership. And as long as they're there, we're going to be in the same position every year. Every year. Managers that have gone from this club doesn't lie. Conte, a world-class manager. Mourinho, a world-class manager. You cut the head off the snake, another one comes up in its place. And it's the ownership. And I know I disagreed with Rain at the start of the season, say we shouldn't protest before the first game of the season. I stand by that. But where's change for Tottenham? Where they're protesting now? They protest under the monologue, Enoch out, Levy out. Just because there's a change at the top doesn't mean it's the same old shit. And it is the same old shit. We have to keep banging the drum, keep getting out there, keep reminding them we're here. We've taken our foot off the pedal. Enoch now think they're not going to worry about us. We throw another manager under the bus. We say he's not our manager. It was a Levy signing. We'll walk away from it. We're getting our own man. No, you are still part of the process. Vinay and Lang were still part of the process. They're still here. They have to take responsibility for this shit show. And the owners have to get and spend money. Put money in. January's difficult. Do it next summer. But I'm sorry, I have no trust they're going to do it, Dave. Jack and Martin, I really don't. It's going to be the same old shit.
But the thing is, with like Pochettino, he wasn't backed. He just changed the culture. He said to senior players, "Okay, you don't want to do what I want you to do. Fine, no problem. Sit there and collect your wages. You'll be out here in no time. Bentaleb, what are you doing? You want a few games? No problem." He had the balls to do it, and no one was moaning about the youngster of the age of the team back then. Some of the youngsters back then, because the reason why Poch succeeded at Tottenham is because he brought Southampton up to the Premier League playing a certain way. And he also made them finish, I think it was 6th or 7th. And for the last part of that season, he was in 4th, chasing Champions League. He never actually had to adapt to his training regime or his style of football coming over to Tottenham. Frank has to do that. But I'd also make the case, Jose Conte wasn't back. People say now Ange wasn't back, even though last year many people tried to make the case how much we spent on him and that he was back and stuff like that. True. The reality is, no manager ever gets full backing at Tottenham. We know that, and we know that's something that has to change. But at the end of the day, you have to buy time enough to keep getting that back, and you have to warrant what you're doing, up until the next transfer window to warrant that backing. And I'll make the argument, Frank has been given better players than any of the previous managers since Pochettino, if not even before then. He was given Paulinho, a player that went to Bayern Munich. Okay, I wasn't playing, but he's a top-notch player. He's been one of our most consistent players this year. He's been given Kudos, who was ripping it up at Ajax, had a decent World Cup, done well at West Ham. He's a good fucking player. He's been given Colin Mawani, who has played in the World Cup final. He's been given Xavi Simons, who is a fully fledged Dutch international. I take into account it's probably one of the worst Dutch sides I've ever seen in my life, but it doesn't matter. He's still a fully fledged Dutch international. He's ripped up every other league he's been in. He comes with huge fanfare. Everyone says the same thing about him, that he's insanely talented. He's been given more backing in terms of the quality of player that we've brought in than what previous managers have done. And we look worse much quicker than what any of the other previous managers have shown. That's where I say I don't know whether Thomas Frank deserves more backing in the January transfer window, because he has been given better players than what other previous managers have been.
I'm split on, just because if people feel like the squad isn't good enough, then part of the reason behind hiring Thomas Frank was that he was then
100%.
supposed to actually get more out of an average squad, because he showed he could do that at Brentford. So I just feel like if that's the case you want to make, squad isn't good enough, it's only around 10th or something like Tyler said. Well, Thomas Frank, the whole reason he was brought in was because his whole remit, before at Brentford, was that he does a very good job getting the most and getting a tune out of, let's say, bang average players for the most part. But he's not necessarily doing that then. If you feel like the squad is average at Spurs, it doesn't seem like he's actually getting the most out of what are supposed to be, in people's opinion, a 10th or 12th based, average squad. So that's where I'm kind of a bit confused about all this, Martin. It's like, if you feel like the squad is good enough, he should be doing better. But if you feel like it's not good enough, I still feel like he should be doing better, because that was kind of the whole reason he was hired, I thought, was because he's good at getting a tune out of average players.
Well, listen, the squad as a whole ain't good enough to be knocking on the door at the top. But there's some good players in there. You know what? It's only few and far between. But, I'm sure you could get more out of what we're seeing. Right? We know they ain't bad. Right? But we also know the likes of Johnson's and Telnet, they're not going to take us to the promised land. We know that. So we can't expect more of them. They are what they are. That's the side of it we've got, you know what I mean? Now we've got Kudus, Paulinia, Xavi. Let's start building on more quality. And the squad players now, they'll drop down to be the backfield for now, and then you get rid of the other ones. It's not going to happen overnight. We all understand that. I know when it's bad, we all want to see the success in that. But I know most of us on here are quite realistic. We know that these players ain't good enough to compete. They won us a trophy last year, but come on, let's have a look at the final. Like, if Man U decided to play half as what they could, we would have lost that. So, we done well, we got it. But there's players in there, as I say, like Xavi and things like that, they're being strangled because of the system. Now, this, I don't know, it's so hard. I think he just needs to find a way and say, I'm sticking with it. The players they shouldn't need, because they've been playing football since they were 5, and let's call it 15 to 20 years for some of them. They should know how to kick a ball. But at the same time, they are doing what they're told to do. So if you got the double pivot of Paulinia and Bentancur, and they're told, don't you cross that halfway line, they're not going to cross the halfway line. If you say to them, right, Paulinia, you sit back for Bentancur, if you get a chance to go forward, you go forward. But last year, we had such a high press, one ball over the top, the other team thinks they've got half a pitch to play in. We're now that team that are sitting back. We've got half a pitch to play the ball into and go and get goals. We ain't utilising it. We might as well just play on one half, because we're not the advantage everyone had on us last year. We could now have the advantage on them because we're sitting back and inviting on. We're not even using that. So I don't know where to go with it. I don't know what he's seeing. He obviously knows a lot more about football than me. But at the minute, he ain't showing it. And, if he just stuck to his things, and I don't mind him as a person and all that, and I've said the way he is, but these last couple of weeks, he's ground away on me in what he's saying, because I think he's throwing his frustration and he's whatever's going on at us, when it should be at the players and himself, and go, we should all stand here, have a look in the mirror. We need to get out of this. Don't worry about them out there. They're going to do what they do, the fans. But let us get this right, because it can't be enjoyable 1 week they're playing this way, 1 week they're playing, and they've got no time to learn it. So this is what I'm saying. If he only is getting 1 or 2 days a week to train it, stick with a system, and it might take twice as long as what it would have done, but at least they'll get an understanding. But when they're all in different positions, they're being played different roles, and that's what we're hearing is coming out with the players, that they're not happy with this tinkering and this, that, and the other. I'm fully behind them on that because we don't understand it, and they don't understand it, but then they're copying the brunt of what he's telling them to do. So then they're like, why are they having a go at us? We're being it's just a whole big shit show. And at the end of the day, he's the one who's going to lose his job. We ain't going to. We're going to still be there next week and the week after, the year after and the year after till we go. You know, he's going to come and go. But, you know, at some point, you say, where is your self-pride to get it right for yourself? You're talking about 5 million quid a year. Do you know what I do for 5 million quid a year? Well, I won't say it on here, but I do quite a lot. But it's so... I don't know. It baffles me. It baffles me.
The thing is, do I sympathise with Frank, you know, that maybe we didn't get like a Nezir or Gibbs White? Yeah, of course I do. Do I sympathise with him that we don't have all the holes in the fixed squad? Yeah, of course I do. I understand and it makes it a tougher job. But the reality is, I think people are digging their feet in for the wrong guy. Why didn't they dig their feet in for a Jose or a Conte, guys that actually have a CV, a history behind them, rather than a guy like Thomas Frank, whose only history has been punching above his weight with Brentford, never went on a domestic cup run, never been in Europe before and stuff like that. And the reality is, although there's shortcomings in the squad, is he getting enough out of what he's got? And I don't think so. You know, Ange had problems, but he, first season, and you know, he got the best out of what he could. Conte, Jose, the same. Their first seasons were good. They made it work. Where we went wrong is we never really followed up in the second season and gave them proper back. And that's where it went wrong under these guys. But we're 3 months or 4 months into a Premier League season. We're already staring relegation battle in the face. If we lose these next couple of games, all of a sudden you're down there. It's like Nuno. Some guys just aren't cut out for the job, and some guys just ain't getting the best out of it. And
some are meant to be mid-table managers, like people said. Yeah. Moondog said. Sorry, Martin.
I said, yeah, there's a pecking order. And when it's like Dave was saying last year, if we're buying players from relegated teams, what do you expect our team to be? And this is the same thing. If you're getting a mid-table manager with low expectations, he's going to bring that to us. And so he is doing it. He's a mid-table team, and he's trying now at mid-table to lower our expectations.
I'm just going to take these from Moondog and some others as well, who've been very patient and very supportive. Thanks to everybody that's been in here with us. Moondog saying, member for 48 months, nearly in the 50-month club. Absolutely crazy, Moondog. He's saying, F Frank, I don't rate him at all. He's also saying, am I not a fan? I've been supporting them for 57 years before he was born, the absolute knob. I don't like that he's done something pretty similar to what Ange did, you know, where he is sort of causing a schism between himself and the fan base, like calling out the fan base for behaving a certain way or another way. I just don't think you're helping yourself. I think you're only putting more pressure on yourself by doing that. And also as well, I just, like I mentioned before, I think at this level of the game, if you even feel like fans are potentially not supporting the team the way you like, you know, tough shit, really. It's just sort of how it goes at this top level, really. It's just something you just have to deal with, something you have to sort of try to figure your way out. And usually the classic case to sort of get over it is by simply winning games. I know it's easier said than done, but that's part of, you know, the stakes of being at a high level club and just high level football is that you will be scrutinized more than lower levels, really. You will be criticized more harshly. You will have to deal with difficult situations. And the other thing too is I think he sort of went back on it a little bit. He sort of reversed a little bit on it. He seemed to say that the booing in general, he didn't have much of an issue with. He said he felt more like it was the booing of Vicario every time that he was touching the ball, every time that he was kicking it away. He said he just couldn't stand for that. I kind of see where he's coming from on that, because in 1 week we're praising Vicario for saving us game after game, and then he makes that mistake, and then all of a sudden they're kind of ironically booing him and jeering him. That did seem a bit harsh, if I'm going to be honest.
It's pantomime season, Jack. Come on, get over it.
I'm kind of that way, where I just feel like they just kind of have to suck it up, really. Big up Moondog, though. Really appreciate you. But I think he's done something very similar to what Ange has done, and I don't think it's going to help him out, really, Moondog. So I'm in a very similar boat to you. Mick has said the players must be up for this one tonight. 100%, Mick. Really
Romero
appreciate your
was us.
support. And I
Romero
think we need
fucking
to
owes us.
see just intensity. We need to see sort of a decent performance, maybe something similar to what we got against PSG. I know that wasn't a great result, but at the same time, I don't think anybody was faulting the effort, was faulting sort of the intensity and the effort from the players. So I think we just want to see something maybe similar to PSG. Just hopefully we don't, concede 5 goals like we did against them, to be honest, Mick. But big up to you. Really appreciate you. And then Moondog saying, is Edin Terzic available? I believe he
No,
is, but
please, no.
I'm not a big fan of his, to be honest. I think he was sort of good for a club like Dortmund. I've mentioned this to Dave in the past. He's like a club fan, if not even like an ultra at one point for the Dortmund club.
Yeah,
He was a guy that
madness.
really he really understood the club. He literally understood the fan base. He was a guy that could really get his players, geared up for a game because he really understood what it meant to play for Dortmund. I just don't know if he can translate that sort of energy to Tottenham Hotspur. I think it was only really specific to Dortmund at the time. And I think, to be honest, I think there is a reason maybe that he hasn't necessarily taken up another job, maybe for his own benefit, but also because I just don't know if maybe people really rated what he had done with the club, because he wasn't as good in the domestic league and the Bundesliga as maybe they would have liked to been. And then he seemed to be quite good at getting a tune out of the players when it came to the cup football. But he only went, really so far. And I think there's a reason he ended up getting sacked at the end of the day anyways, Moondog. I don't really fault the job that he's done. I actually think he did a fine job there, but I think it was more unique to just Dortmund, and I'm not sure if it would be applicable to other clubs. But that's just me. People, of course, are welcome to disagree, especially if you are a Bundesliga fan. MKP
It's a
saying
much bigger job at Tottenham, though, Jack, isn't it? It's the
Totally.
pressure, the cauldron of fire, what's going on at the minute. It's not about a coach coming in and taking the team on and go, I can play this pretty football and do this. There is so much wrong at this club that it's going to take someone with a big, strong personality and self-belief to come in and take this on.
100%. And MKP saying 110 likes, 435 watching. Remember to like the stream, support the channel. Very generous, MKP. Really do appreciate you.
Can I?
Look, yeah, go ahead.
Can I also just take this, Ange, ball on? I'd just like to say, I know many people some fans, that was their opinion. It wasn't an objective by the board that this was a transitional season. But name me what other club in their fan base say this is a transitional season under any manager. They don't. This only happens at Tottenham Hotspur's excuses for falling below expectations. I'm not buying it. No other club has transitional seasons.
Let's maybe take this on to just sort of the team in general, how we've been performing, maybe looking at some stats. Throw this one at you, Dermatron. We have conceded 11 goals in the last 3 games. Is the defensive solidity we used to praise under Thomas Frank gone already, or the goals maybe more down to the individual errors like we saw from Vicario the other night?
I think it's a bit of both. I think Vicario on Saturday was a complete idiot. I was saying, if in doubt, give it a whack. I was always told when I start playing football, if you're in trouble, kick it into row Z. I mean, I don't know if you were told that, Dave, as well back in the day, but you were always told that.
Kick it out.
Kick it out. And I was saying that on Saturday. I was shouting against PSG as well. Am I watching on? If in doubt, give it a whack. Like, I think I hate saying it, but I think some of these players already are trying to throw Frank under the bus with their defensive, the way they're playing. I think Van der Ven's been the only decent defender out the bloody lot of them, if I can be brutally honest. I think Romero does always. Dave is right. He gives better performances for Argentina than he does us. I think Van der Ven's would be a better captain than Romero. I think Porro has been shit for the last year. I rarely do. I think your doggy's done all right when he has played. I think Spence as well has done all right when he's played. But we're just so stupid. We just switch off. We do. And it was our strongest part of our game, our midfield and our defence. Yes, we've got the worst front line I've seen in decades at the club, but our defence was always there to save us out. If you can keep them out and nick a goal, then grand, you're doing that. But I think the players, as Dave said, are probably confused with Frank's tactics. They don't know what they're doing. And I think they've given up. I think they've said, though, look, fuck this. You know, you saw it against Fulham on Saturday. Where's Vicario running back towards the goal? Where was the players going to run that back towards the goal? Even if they scored, you want to see a little bit more urgency. And what I didn't like about Vicario either and the defence, I think they've lost trust in one another. I think Vicario's lost trust in the back four, and I think the back four have lost trust in Vicario. Because as soon as that goal goes in, what does Vicario do? Start berating the defenders in front of him. What do they do? Start berating Vicario. There's arguments amongst each other. So I don't think there's no trust between the goalkeeper and the back four. I think it's totally broken relations. So what do? You can't put Kinski in because Kinski's, I don't think his confidence has been shot to pieces. So how can you put him in? Do you try changing up, putting Danso in? Well, that didn't work, did it? When we played against PSG, he's no Romero, and Van de Ven cannot do all the defending himself. I think he's been our best player, and Jamie O'Hara said it last night on the sports bar when he was having his rant about would any Tottenham players get into the 2008 League Cup team. Only one player for me is Van de Ven would get into that team. No other of these feckers would. No other of these defenders would. And I just think it's a shit show from top to bottom. But I do really believe that there's a broken relations between the back four and Vicario and vice versa. I don't think they trust each other. And I think that's where the problem's lying.
I'm kind of split on the question that I asked there. I do feel like it does seem like we're starting to show some cracks defensively, but there have been some crazy individual errors as well. Like we have seen just times where, Vicario is making a mistake like that. Pop Matasar right the other day, as well in the Man United game. Both of those occasions felt like more just individual errors. But then in the Arsenal game, like a lot of the goals weren't really as much individuals. It kind of just felt like we were just carved open, and then we were just giving them far too much space to have shots from outside the box. My big worry, Dave Martin, is like that seems to be the recent trend, is that we allow teams to shoot from just outside the penalty area, and then we're expecting them to either hit it into the man to have it blocked, or we're expecting Vicario to be able to make an easy save of it. But we saw against high quality players like Vitinha, for example, who I think is a world-class player. He just put in 2 world-class finishes like against us, really. Like, and that's where my worry is. Eze, right? 3 incredible finishes. So my worry is maybe against the tougher teams, that strategy of allowing them to shoot from outside the box could actually be punishing us at the minute.
This is a Thomas Frank issue, though, the shots from outside the box and having no one around it. Because if you go back to, I've done some research into this because I'm a loser and I have nothing better to be doing, so that when I do analyze these things, I can try and give a fair analysis. So I went back to look at Brentford. Was this a common thing that was happening at Brentford? It was. No other keeper faced more shots from outside the box than Thomas Frank in at Brentford last season. And no keeper also saved more shots from outside the box than Flecken last season. And when you go back and look at it, and when you go back and look at all the goals we've conceded from outside the box this season, it's clear that it's a plan by Thomas Frank to block up the box and not give any space in the box and give them the space outside the box. And when he sees going forward, taking shots from outside the box as a low-risk scoring opportunity, you can only assume then he works off that same narrative then defensively, right? So he's more than happy to give them shots around the edge of the box. But how many games have we lost because of that? Because of shots in and around the edge of the box? Aston Villa, 2. There was one against Leeds that was spilled. They ended up tapping home. 3 against Arsenal. 1 against Bodo Glimt. Another 2 the other night against PSG. There was another one against Fulham off the edge of the box the other day. Another one in the Super Cup. It's a constant theme, and that is a Thomas Frank issue, and I think it's easily rectified. By the way, I think one, you just instruct one of your double pivot to get out there and fill that space. Just one, not even both, just one. Now, of course, could some of the players be doing a bit more to recognise to get out there? I think from the average fan, that's what we're screaming at them to do. But if they're told not to do that, then they have to do what the manager asked them to do, or they don't play. Now, I think it is a fair question around Vicario. If Flecken could pull off a lot of saves from outside the box, is that another weakness in Vicario's game? Because he conceded a few in preseason as well. So I think there's a fair question around Vicario on that. And I think there has been some mistakes by players this year that have led to goals that you can't directly put on Thomas Frank.
Yeah, it's
but when you have no game plan going forward, you're going to make mistakes. When you're sitting off oppositions and allowing them just to come at you, you're going to make mistakes. It's that simple. The pressure we invite, players are cracking under.
Yeah,
and it's a knock-on effect is the right word.
I think it's a heavy split of both, so that's why I kind of was struggling with it. I think there's so many individual errors, like Steve D is bringing up. Big up, Steve D. Good to have you with us. But I could point so many individual errors that I feel like aren't really on Thomas Frank, but I feel like the noticeable trend has been these goals that we've been conceding from outside the box. And I'm not too sure whether that's down to the individuals. I think that's more down to just that's the one thing he's willing to give up is he feels like there's a low percentage chance of opposition teams punishing us from outside the box. But I just slightly worry, Dermotron and Martin, like when you come up against the Patinas and the Ezes of the world, like those are guys that can punish you, I think, from outside the penalty area. And even tonight against Newcastle, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, these sorts of types of guys, I feel like they can punish you if you get them.
This is the thing, Jack. If it was one or two, we go, all right, you can put it down to team error, individual error, however you want to word it. But to have that many in a week, forget how many they've done, but then last 3 games, every one of them teams has scored that goal. Right? Now, so that has to be partly systemic and how they're set up. Right? And they're running in the box and trying to block Vicario, and they're all sitting on the 6-yard box. And they're leaving no one outside the box. And, you know, the Arsenal game, we had a back 5 and the 2 in front. The amount of holes in that back line to have 7 defensive players was astonishing. So you can put it in them ones, you can put it down to, well, they don't know where they're doing, they're getting in each other's way. One's coming that way, one's coming that way, you open the gap in the middle. But for it to be that many in this consistent games, and as I say, tonight, it's the writing's on the wall for him to score one of them, isn't there? It's just absolutely Tonali bursting in after the ball goes out to someone wide and it gets pulled back. All our players go back and they just stand still and go, here we go. Coutinho looked good because he's got time to strike a worldie. But if he had Romero flying at him at 50 mile an hour, going to crunching tackle, he'd soon think about, I'm not going to do this. But when you've got all the time in the world, you're going to look like fucking Messi because you've got time to think and do it. If you're being closed down, you ain't got time. So it is partly individual and partly how they're set up. So again,
I think you're right.
It becomes collective.
I think if you give good players like that sort of time to think as well, like you said, that's a good way to phrase it. Like if you give them time to think about it, they will hurt you. Like even what was it, the Korean player, Lee Kang-in, just in the first Super Cup game, right? We started to sag off a little bit, start to give them more time. He scored an absolute worldie, but I think he almost did it again, like midweek. He almost scored a worldie, like the exact same type of goal, really. I think it just went off the post, if I remember. So it's just one of those where you give good players that sort of time and space. I just think they'll punish you more than Thomas Frank realizes.
But this is where I get confused, though. If you're playing a double pivot, you shouldn't be allowing team shots from the edge of the box because, in effect, that's what they're there for. Your defense defends the box, and they're defending and around the box, so you're not giving up anything to the opposition. So it's a flaw in the system, in my opinion. Because on the average eye, everyone's going, he's got to break his bollocks to get out there. Yeah, if you're instructed to do it, it'd be in the back of the mind to get out there and do it. But when it's constant happening, that happened at Brentford, and the only common denominator is the manager. At what point do you look at him and say it's a flaw in your system?
Yeah,
but also this back 4 and this goalkeeper have played with each other for a while now, for nearly 2 seasons now. Porro, Van de Ven, Romero, Udogie, Vicario. So as a back 5, they should all know what they're doing. They should know their own jobs. And if you're looking at the PSG game, we had 2 warnings before they scored their goal. It wasn't like they did it the first time. They'd done it 2 times before. Surely one of them players should hang on a minute, take the initiative here. If I move back, or if the player between the wing and the centre, and I forget who is in the middle, drop back. Just drop back a little bit. Don't cut him off to make that pass. If you cut off, then he's got no option to play it from outside the box. He's got to somehow whip it in and then get your left back or Spencer, whoever, to close down on them. It's all about using your noddle, having awareness around you. If you know twice before, well, hang on a minute, you do it once. Okay, fair enough. Twice, you need to learn that. The third time, hang on, they're going to pass it into this further in the middle. Do I need to drop back? Do I need to drop out a little bit from the back 5 or the back 6? It's about being awareness around you. These players have no awareness. And I said before...
Are they allowed to think, or are they just doing what they're told?
I think footballers in general don't think. I think footballers now just go with any footballer now. I think go with what they're being told. If that was a footballer 10 years ago not even that, probably 5 years ago,
Yeah.
they'd be able to use your own model. But players are they're like robots. They're trained to
Get dropped
follow.
now.
Yeah, you get dropped now. And you can see it. If you freeze that picture before they made that pass, if the Spurs player was to drop back or Romero was to come out a little bit, that's any manager will tell you you've cut off their option. Then the only option to have is to cross it in. Well, who knows? Spence could have got out and your doggy could have got out, or Porro could have stopped that. So players now just are like robots, and it really frustrates me. You got to think on your feet. You got to think. Where's the awareness? Footballers.
But see, the thinking has been taken away from them, though, Darmo.
Yeah,
every facet of the game is being analysed, so the thinking is taken away from them now. This is what we want you to do. You don't play.
Yeah, isn't it a bit of that? But then it's also
it.
like if you don't follow the instructions and you risk, not being picked in the team. I think it's sort of twofold where they're being trained not to think for themselves as much anymore. But also if you go against what the manager is instructing you in terms of your role and your positioning, all that sort of stuff, then you do risk, if you're not playing well, to be dropped from the team. They'll put in, I think that ended up happening at one stage in football where more talented players were being dropped for lesser talented players, but the lesser talented players were following the instructions of what the manager had wanted. And sometimes that's what the manager cares more about, is just having a guy do exactly what you want him to be doing to the T, instead of allowing, let's say, a more expressive individual player to shine. I think that started happening maybe more towards kind of the 2010s, era of football, if you ask me, kind of when managers started becoming a bit more tactical. But we only have about 10, 12 minutes, I think, until lineups start coming out here, guys. So I do want to ask some questions around midfield and other players. Lots of fans, by the way, Martin, they want to see Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall play together again versus Fulham after their great performance against PSG. Do you think they've done enough to hold on to their starting positions for this match against Newcastle? Or should Thomas Frank start a different midfield? What is Tottenham's best midfield, in your opinion?
I think after the PSG game, they earned to be in for a shout on Saturday. After Saturday, I don't think they do. And that's not just having a go at them. We're going up against, like, as I say, real battling men in the midfield.
Yeah.
Now, Archie Gray, I think Archie Gray, when we've seen him this year, looks better as a going forward 8, and he's breaking the lines like he did at PSG, broke the line. When he's being asked to sit in that middle of the field, I don't think he's quite working for him. We was told he was a DM. What I've seen, I don't think he is. I think he's a better 8. But it's only a small sample size. But, as I say, I feel we need real men to compete in the middle. We've got Paulinho. Bentancur can do it, but he's going to be a red card waiting to happen tonight, because if he tries to go toe-to-toe with Joe Linton and that, Joe Linton's so clever. You see how he does it. Look at the last match. He got away with so much. And Bentancur, he's going to get the ump. He's going to have something put on him. The next thing, he's going to go sliding across 10 yards and just take someone out. And so, but I don't know who to put in there. I really don't know the answer, because it's one of them. I just think you've got to stand up to them. But Tonali, Joe Linton and Guimaraes, they're going to run rings around. If you put Bergvall, Archie Gray, and then Paulinho or Bentancur sitting back, I think they're going to run absolute rings around us. So I'm worried tonight, and that's my biggest fear tonight, the midfield.
I would argue, and I know people may say this sounds silly, but just hear me out. I'd argue maybe Bergvall and Gray weren't really set up to shine against Fulham. I think if you look at PSG, specific, the reason why the 4-2-2-2 worked is because the whole game plan was to get after their midfield and rough it up, something they're not used to stop them from playing, and it worked. Yeah. Against Fulham, the game plan should have been playing wingers, high and wide, get at them, look to break them down. On the day, we end up paying the price for it because everything was too centrally. They just ran riot down the wings, and the game was over and done with. And I would argue, I don't think Gray and Bergvall were really set up to shine in that system against Fulham. I think they were probably hard done by to a certain degree in that regard. I think it worked well against PSG because it was a specific game plan to nullify that.
Yeah, this is where it comes down to the system thing, isn't it? They look good, as I say, doing one job, but they're then told 4 days later to do a total different job. They completely look bad, and it ain't necessarily their fault. This is this is the thing of getting the best out of your players in them positions. And he's proved in a space of 72 hours how he can make two players look good and how he can make them same two players against a lesser team look average.
Exactly.
What's the best midfield, Dave?
Look, for me,
or what would you go with tonight? I guess
I've been trying to say this for a long time. I think he needs to go back to what was working at the start of the season. Paulinho, Bentancur, and Papa Matasar. Everyone has their problems with the individual players, but at the end of the day, as a tree, it was the most consistent. We were bullying teams. We were getting pressure on the ball. We were winning high up, which was solving how crap we were actually trying to get up the pitch in terms of building moves. He took Papa Matasar out, started tinkering with the midfield, rotating, and it all fell apart. And now he doesn't even know what his best midfield is. But the best midfield is what was producing at the start of the season when we were winning games of football. Go back to it.
Yeah. Andrew, I hate this game being a Tottenham fan living 10 miles north of Newcastle. I think Chris, the one and only, the GOAT, is going to the game tonight. Best of luck to him. It's good to see him getting out there and still supporting Spurs because we know he's a very passionate Tottenham fan. And he's going to go into the Lions' den tonight along with Andrew. King Hyle saying you need physicality, aggression, and pace versus Newcastle, or they will walk all over you. Bournemouth worked them over last season. Jerome's in here. Good to have you with us, Jerome. Saying midfield, Paulinho, Sarr, and Xavi. What's the best midfield for you tonight? Dermatron, do you agree with Jerome here?
I don't. I actually don't agree with Martin either. My midfield.
What does Martin do?
No, I mean it nicely. I mean it nicely, politely too. I mean it politely, by the way, with respect as well, with massive respect for you, Martin.
That's all right.
Look, I go with Bergville, Gray, and Xavi. That would be my midfield three. I wouldn't even play with the six. I just go for two central midfielders and a 10. For me, I think Bergville and Gray. I think Bergville played well in that second half against Fulham, and I thought we had a really good game. And I like Archie Gray. We need to start going with these players. Yeah, I would agree with Paulinho in there. If you wanted to play a six, I would start Paulinho. I do agree with Martin on Bentancur as a red card waiting to happen. I think Bentancur's been shot since he came back of injury, by the way. So I would do either you pay two central midfielders and a 10, or you pay Paulinho as a 6 and Gray and Bergville in midfield. I think Bergville's a better player than most people give him credit for. I really do. And I think he's put in some pretty good performances. And look, and Gray as well. I think Gray is a better. I agree with Martin again. Maybe I shouldn't have said I don't agree with you, Martin. Maybe I'm agreeing with you a bit more than I thought.
Respect.
Yeah, show some. Yeah, I do apologise. I think Gray is a better rate than the 6, so I think that's where you put Paulinho in there. But Bergville and Gray for me have got a more of an understanding than Bentancur does. Bentancur's not a midfielder for me, and I think Gray and Bergville are the future. I think we need to start playing them more. And you look at the end of the game. Bergville was the only one with any guts to show the fans any respect by trying to give them a clap at the end of the game, until King Porro, the gobshite's telling him not to. Well, he can F off. So for me, he gets dropped tonight, by the way. I wouldn't even start him. I'd start Spence instead of Porro tonight. But for me, it's either Paulinho, Bergville, or Gray, Bergville, and Xavi. That would be my midfield 3.
J-Mac saying we need a UFC fighter in midfield to deal with Joe Linton. I saw that clown thing. Paulinho is probably the closest thing we have, J-Mac. You're probably right there. Tyler maybe agreeing with you there, saying Paulinho is a must. He's been our best player this season. Moondog saying just start Tom, Dick, and Harry. Good to see. I think this is Paul Brown. Big up to Paul Brown as well.
Mickey,
hopefully
Minnie, and Donald Duck at this point.
I think we definitely need a Habib of some kind for this game. Just quickly before the lineups come out, might as well talk about this player who's been left out of the starting lineups a few times, Dave. Thomas Frank on Xavi Simons not starting in any of the 3 matches last week said there's a reason why we have Xavi here. I think he's a very good player. He's trained very well. It is not the first time a player has stepped into the Premier League and needs a bit of adaptation. Even former Spurs defender Michael Dawson had this to say on Sky Sports about Simons. He said that for a player to get confidence and belief in himself, you have to play him consistently. There's this big divide, Dave, amongst the fan base about whether Frank is getting enough out of Xavi Simons, or if Xavi Simons should be doing more with the chances he's already been given. Where do you kind of stand around this debate?
No, I think there's an element of both there that Xavi Simons could have done a lot more with the chances he was given, but I'd argue I don't think he was helped sort of acclimatise into the Premier League to a large degree. I think you know, when we signed Xavi Simons, you know, it was well documented out there that I sort of, you know, I said that I don't think he's going to be the savior that everyone's painting him out to be, that it's going to take him a while to adjust to the physicality and the pace of the Premier League. Is he a bad player? No. Is he as good as everyone made him out to be? No. You know, but is there hell of a room for him to grow? Yeah, of course there is. And at the end of the day, you know, the way I look at it, and this is something I said, when he first came in, when he was playing in that cam position, he kept on operating out on the left-hand side. Why? Because he wasn't up for the physical battle and couldn't handle it. So he was getting himself into positions where he could get on the ball in space and try and affect the game. And Thomas Frank should have realised that and acclimatised him to the Premier League off the left-hand side. And then when he's adapted, then start moving him into the middle. And he didn't do that. He put him in the middle straight away, and he absolutely crumbled that midfield. Sarr was playing out of his skin. All of a sudden, you can't get a tune out of the guy now. And I'd argue, if you're Papa Mata Sarr and you're going, well, I've been involved in nearly every goal we've scored from pre-season all the way up to this point. What more can I do? You know what I mean? You sort of lose a player in that regard. But I also think he's also lost Xavi Simons. You know, the United game, you know, I don't think he should have been taken off. I think if he stays on the pitch, we might have actually got another goal and we wouldn't have ended up drawing 2-2. I just think I don't think Thomas Frank really knows what to do with Xavi Simons, to be honest with you. He never really played that calm player at Brentford or really had a player of that specific role. And I think he's struggling to know what to do with the guy and how to fit him in. And it also doesn't help that Xavi Simons looks like a kid in a men's game at times, being ragdolled around the place. So it does make it difficult on Frank. But a good manager will recognise and go, well, let's play him off the left-hand side and let's get something out of him. Because one thing that kid can do, he's played balls over the top, cross the ball. We've seen glimpses of it, you know, where he's putting some dangerous balls. Go back to that Leeds game, that little delicate chip over the top for Pedro Porro. I nearly had to leave the stream and go and whack myself off. It was that good. You know, then you go back to the performance against Copenhagen. When was the last time we've seen a player in the cam link up with the left, the right, and the middle? Then, you know, and then but he doesn't roll out that same front line against Man United. I know he couldn't roll out Kudus, but he could have started with some of the others. He changed it up, and you're not really giving the kid a chance. Like, this is something I've tried to speak about. How many rotations this season? I think we put out the same lineup or the same forward line like twice.
Yeah.
The rest of it is all being rotated. You're not giving Xavi Simons a chance to develop patterns of play, partnerships, understanding with players. It's the same with Kudus. It's the same with Moani. You're not giving any of them a chance to really get going. At the end of the day, when you're going forward, you're always up. When you're going forward, you have less numbers and you have to break down more numbers, which means then you have to have an unbelievable understanding to be effective. And when you keep changing it, you're not giving any of them a chance. None of them.
Just, do you think like maybe the way he used Damsgaard or Eriksson was just a little bit different than maybe the way he's using Xavi Simons? Because you would say those are number 10s, but sometimes you can use them differently than maybe the conventional way that you're kind of talking about. Because he did have an Eriksson in the past, and he did have a Damsgaard.
Yeah, but by the time he got his hands on Eriksson was well versed to be able to get involved in the midfield battle and play a little bit deeper and stuff like that. True. You know, Xavi Simons isn't that guy. You know, Damsgaard, he spent long times out of the team when Thomas Frank had him.
That's true.
Before recently, you know what I mean? So I just argued, I don't think to be honest with you, I'm not sure he's a Thomas Frank player either. When you look at the players we've signed, they've all been big, robust, strong, physical. You go back, look at his Brentford team. Most of his players, big, strong, robust, physical. I just don't think he knows what to do with Xavi Simons.
Yeah, okay. Anybody want to add anything to the Xavi Simons conversation as the lineups are coming out? Yeah. Dermotron, does he need to start tonight, or was...
I think he does. I think it's criminal how Frank has been using him. He is a young lad. He needs games to get used to the Premier League. He needs games to get used to the physicality of the Premier League. And he needs games to understand. I understand Dave saying about Copenhagen, what he was like against in the Champions League, but that was against Copenhagen.
No, but he's shown what he can do, though.
He showed what he can do. I get your point. But the point is, I think he's getting frustrated. As for Papa Sarr, I think he must be saying, what the hell have I done wrong here? And I agree. But Xavi, for me, will be a great play for us. We need to be patient. We need to give him time. He's coming to a different league. It's not like the Dutch league. It's not like the Premier League. So the more games you play in the Premier League, the more you get used. Look at Modric when he first came. He wasn't great. Look what he ended up becoming because he got used to the Premier League and he got better and he adapted his style.
Well, on that note, with Modric, Harry Redknapp played him out on the right-hand side until he got used to it and then moved him into good management, you know, realised that physically he wasn't up for it and moved him out. But you would argue with Thomas Frank, even the way we play, it's not set up to get the ball into Xavi and let him dictate going forward.
And to be fair, the best we've seen of Xavi is when he's moved out to the left. We've seen more Xavi on the left-hand side than we have in the cam roles. So there could be a shout of moving him onto the left-hand side for a while. Let him play out there, because that's the best we've seen of him. So I don't know if he prefers to play there himself. I don't know if the player prefers to play in the left instead of playing century, but they've made the point. Seeing him play for Holland, I watched him on the international break. I think, who the hell's this player? Where's he for us? He was exceptional for Holland. So he will come good. We have to be patient. I hate using the word patient, but we do with Xavi. We didn't pay 50 million.
Also, sorry, Martin. Just one more quick thing to throw in. When you look at the history of the club Xavi has been at, they all play a certain brand of football on the ground to feet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Spurs, we're not playing that way. You're never going to get the best.
We're playing long ball.
Martin, go on. Yeah.
Long ball.
Sorry, Martin. Yeah, you know more about Xavi than anyone here, so we should have came to you first, realistically.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. I want to disagree with Dermot for the record.
Go ahead, son.
But no, it's
I heard that.
For me, we've brought him in, and as fans, we expect him to be the conductor, the maestro, to be our link to mid to front to sprawl this around. When has he ever had a settled left winger? He's had a settled right winger because we've only got Kudus, but then he's playing with Mawani up top on his own, Richie up top on his own, and then the two of them there together. Then there's no one out on the left. What is he supposed to do? He's still young. Yeah, he's got bundles of talent and he's got a great football brain and his IQ is there. But if you ain't got the players, how he sees a game from that point, when I get the ball, he looks up, he sees it, he goes, oh, fuck. So I'll have a run. 2-3 players coming in, he goes down because he is small and light. But if he could draw them 2 players to him, and then he's got someone running from behind him, straight past him, Xavi. He plays it through them 2, and that player goes on like the Paul Scholes would do, run through the middle, because he's dragged 2 players out. So now they're 2 right. So that means there's a space in behind. You've got a runner going in, and then it opens up. But when he's getting chopped and changed every week and then getting dragged off and like it's your fault, you're playing shit. But honestly, like, I do like have an affection for him because of obvious reasons, but I've seen it and I know what he can do. And he's used to having good, great players, top of the tree, even through the lower ranks. He's been at the top of the tree and had the best of them year. He's come to Tottenham and they're playing 2-2-2. Where does he fit in that 2 to be able to spray balls around? What is he? Do you know what I mean? It's 2-2-2. So you've got 6, 8, 10, 12. It just, who is he meant to give it to? And then, as I say, if he has that, looks up at the centre circle, picks it up, and he goes round, and he goes, I know Pat Lissard's going to run past me. So I'll draw them 2 players in, and a little 5-yard dink, he's in, and it leaves the defence open. We've not got no runners. There is no runners. He can't sit there and do a blind. You've seen him play a couple of beautiful balls down the left in the wing. There's no one there. And everyone gets on his back. But I think it's the players that, it makes him look silly because he's played a ball into open space. But his DNA of what he's grown up to is, I know if I play that ball down left, I've got someone running past me coming to get it and swinging the ball in. And he's come to Tottenham, he's gone, Jesus Christ, we're in a 2-2-2 here. I'm like, it's like sitting on a fucking train. Do you know what I mean? It's your single fight.
I thought it was a bus at one point. It looked like a bus. Yeah,
it is. It's just terrible. And then you're taking something away of what you've bought him for. You've bought him to be this player, but you're not giving him anything to play to. Do you know what I mean? And then you go, oh, he's shit. Hook him off. I'll put him on a sub and I'll take him off and I'll humiliate him. Then everyone goes, oh, he's got an attitude problem. Now, come on, give the kid a break. He's grown up with Barcelona, PSG. You know what I mean? And then he's come to Tottenham in this shit, and we all expect him to go, right, there you go. You're 21. Win us the World Cup. Do you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. And I feel for him. Do you know what I mean? I feel for him more than most. But I think it's, taking me Xavi loving that off. I think he's been thrown under the bus quite a lot by the manager because, as Dave said, I don't think he knows what to do with him, and he obviously doesn't know what to do with a setup to get the best out of him with the other players. So it's a catalogue of stuff, and he is the fall guy for it.
I think he's
unfortunately.
struggling to adapt to the Premier League in terms of physicality. I have noticed that he does get brushed off the ball far too easily, and sometimes he thinks he has more time than maybe he really does as well. And
Because
he
he has
sometimes
to.
does these unnecessary flicks and tricks as well. I know he's trying to express himself and feel
Yeah,
comfortable, but he does do it at
That's
times
fair.
that I think
Yeah.
has hurt
yeah,
him.
that's
But I
fair.
would agree with Martin in that if you look at the teams he did well in, he was part of that PSV team when like Cody Gakpo was coming through. It was all centered around those two players. Like the whole entire setup was focused on getting the ball into those two creative players. And it seems like we're not doing that here with Spurs. And also the same thing was at Leipzig, where a lot of the attack would flow through him and would sort of be giving him that license to be that chief creator in the team. And I feel like he's one of those guys where you do kind of have to have sort of the attacking play just sort of flow through him and give him that sort of license. He doesn't usually shy away from the defending, so it's not like he's a liability that way. He tries hard
Yeah,
to
he
get
can be
stuck in, but
aggressive.
it seems like he needs to be given that confidence from the manager that you're the guy, we will have the attack sort of flow through. And it
Jack,
doesn't seem like
at the
Thomas
age
Frank
of
is willing to do
like
that.
11, 12, he's doing one-on-one training sessions with Messi and Neymar. And now he's playing with Richarlison. What is he supposed to do with it? 'Cause, like, I know I'm going to back him all the way, but like, let's be realistic. It's what he's used to, and his DNA, his whole youth of growing up. And then he's come to this, and we expect so much of him. You know, he's trying too hard, I think. But at the same time, we have to accept what is he supposed to in a 4-2-2-2? Who is going to shine? Really?
Yeah.
No one. I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
it's down now.
Q7
This is-
agreeing with you that the system doesn't suit him and players around him have a very low footballing IQ and that he's more of a ball carrier than really a passer. I kind of would agree with that from Q7. Sorry, Dermotron, you were going to come in and then I'm going to take your own super chat.
No, sorry. I just very quickly. This is when the manager comes in and should be protecting him, and he should be giving him encouragement, and he should be doing.
100%.
And he's not. And it's evident he's not protecting him, and it's evident he's not encouraging him either. And he needs encouragement now. He needs protection. He needs an arm around the shoulder. Look, you are going to be a great player for us. Just relax, go out there and be yourself. You are right, Martin. He's over trying. He seems like he's over eager.
He's
And
trying
if
to compensate for everyone else.
Yeah, and what he needs is an arm around the shoulder and just tell him, don't worry about it, and protect him, protect the player. He's only a young lad, and the Premier League is not very forgivable. So he needs protecting at the moment. That's down to the manager, and he's failing at that big time.
Yeah, that's fair. Jerome here with a super chat saying, question to you all. If he loses tonight and against Brentford, do you think the club will react? I had a question on that. I think we asked a lot of questions around Thomas Frank. I did have this exact question, to be honest, Jerome, but I just didn't have time to get to it because there were so many things we needed to cover tonight ahead of this game. But you've done it for me here, so we can't hide away from it. Dave, I mean, I do think these next two games are really important. I think we sort of alluded to it at one point where I do feel like he has to pick up points from both of these games, if you ask me.
Oh, look, the pressure's certainly on. I think he has to pick up points. And I think they will be in a position where they potentially will have to sound out other people and look to act. But it could very well be a situation like we were in last year. Let's not forget, many people like Postecoglou realistically should have been gone December. But what manager would sign on the dotted line with the depleted, ravaged injury squad we had? None. And that where I think will lie our problem. You know, will a manager look at it and go, no, there's enough quality for me to go in there, stamp what I want to do and kick on? Or is he just going to look at the way things are going, some of the injuries we're carrying and going, I am not attaching my name to that right now because I'm set up from failure before I even get off. And that happened under Ange. That's the only reason why Ange showed the Europa League final last year. That's the only reason. He would have been gone a long time ago if we could have got someone in of a lot more adequate, but they couldn't. And I think, you know, it could very well come around the same situation with Thomas Frank to a certain degree. You know, when you look around, unless Spurs get a manager out of a club mid-season, is there really a lot on the market that whets the appetite and says he's going to come in and definitely do a better job? But also, are them other managers potentially looking at what's going on at Liverpool and clubs like that and sitting back and waiting and stuff? So there's a lot more factors to come in. Like, the last thing we want to do is get ourselves into a situation where we sack him, we have an interim. Don't want to get into that situation. So it might be a case, even if things don't go this week, they might kick it on until a better person becomes available. But there are reports that have been circulating that, you know, they've been sounding out other managers. Not sure how true that is. We'll wait and see. But, you know, I would say, let's not forget the situation we ended up in last year. Sometimes it's just not as simple as that.
I think the big question, Jerome, is let's say these next 2 games don't go too well, but then also maybe we start to see real signs that the players might not be up for him and the players really aren't buying into what he's doing. And if there's any riff inside the dressing room or within the coaching staff and the players, that could be the catalyst for, the board to start
Sure.
thinking about separation. But I think maybe what gave just not even using this whole Ange versus Frank thing, but maybe what gave Postecoglou that benefit was that there didn't seem to be as much of a riff, between all the players and the manager. They still plenty of times when they were asked about him, they sort of stood up for him. They were trying to defend him. They were trying to say, listen, we kind of get what he's trying to do. We understand sort of the philosophy. We believe in this guy, even though the results weren't reflecting that at all. There did seem to be a belief from the players in the manager. I'm not saying that is the case now with Frank, but I think that's what we need to see is if the players do stand up for him, if they do sort of come out like they did before with Ange Postecoglou to defend the guy, I think Thomas Frank will probably stay in the job. If we don't get any of that sort of type of treatment from the players with the manager, I do wonder if that's maybe their catalyst to start making some difficult decisions around the manager's future, really. Very good question, Jerome, and a very difficult one to answer.
Jack,
I
can I
do think
start
these
to
next
that?
2 games are crucial, though.
Can I just
Go
go
ahead,
to
Mark.
that? Just what you're saying there is right. There was some sort of togetherness, whether it worked or not. There was something there. But like on Saturday, he gets 15 minutes in that dressing room to work around. They stood out on the pitch for 3 or 4 minutes together, and so I can't see it. I think there is a divide there. You know what I mean? And I don't like that either. But obviously they should be running down that tunnel, get in there. Right, what we're going to do to sort that? But they stood together and like, come on. Let's all get together and walk off holding hands and skipping rope. Do you know what I mean? It's. I think there's fractions there, and we'll never know. We're all seeing what we see through our own lenses, but I don't have that confidence. They're all fully built into it.
Really appreciate the support, by the way, Jerome. We're near the lineups coming out. We have 540 on YouTube watching us at the minute. Please smash a like, and then also anybody that's following us on X, feel free to join us over on YouTube. Just quickly back to the Xavi Simons thing, Tyler. I'm not even trying to call you out, but this is what I sort of mean. I'm sort of split on the fan base. Some people feel like he needs to be given all these minutes and time to get adjusted, and then at the same time, there are people saying he's just not good enough. He needs to be doing better, because Tyler's sort of making 2 points that I think are kind of contradicting each other. He's saying a player with quality would shine through if he was that good, but then he also says you got to give Xavi time, and it doesn't help we aren't playing attacking football for him. So I'm kind of just like, which one is it really with Xavi?
It's a bit of both. It's 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
They're both right at the same time.
Like, there is arguments to say some of the games Xavi has been given, he hasn't produced anywhere near enough. But when you look at his career and the way he's played football and the way Thomas Frank plays, it's a complete mismatch. So I think it is. Look, I would hazard a guess, and this is just my opinion. I think you're bringing another manager. I think there is going to be a part of Xavi Simons that is damaged, but I think eventually he'll start showing that maybe, he'll get better out of Xavi, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. Big up to Ian Ferguson. Good to see you. Hopefully everything's keeping all right with you, my friend. Just another quick question on personnel here. Maybe I'll throw this one at Dermotron, since he absolutely loved the guy, at least he used to. Another player who hasn't featured much recently has been Brennan Johnson. Do you think he's fallen out of favor with Thomas Frank?
I think he's fallen out of favor with me. I think he's a jackass. I'm sitting there pulling funny faces and acting like he's a big one. I really do believe that winning the Europa League was the worst thing ever to happen to Brennan Johnson. And either score the goal, if he did or if he didn't, was the worst thing ever, because it's gone to his head. He thinks he's a better player than he is. And I wouldn't mind a player larking around as long as he was putting it on the right in the training field and going out giving his all on the pitch. He seems to have thinks he's done enough. I've won the Europa League. I've made it. No, you haven't made it. You need to knuckle down and rediscover what you had to begin with. And I just don't think Thomas Frank
has gone with Johnson tonight.
Oh, Jesus, we are in trouble.
So maybe that question
No
was
Van de Ven.
pointless.
That's interesting.
Vicario, Danzo, Udogi, Bergval, Romero, Kudus, Johnson, Pedro Porro, Sarr, Bentancur, and Kolo Muani. So by the looks of things, it's going to be a back 4 tonight with Romero and Danzo, And then Vicario, of course, in goals with Udogie and Pedro Porro, keeping their spots in the fullback positions. In terms of the midfield, it looks like it will be Bentancur, Sarr, and Bergval. I think a lot of people wanted a version of that midfield, but maybe more people would have preferred Paulinho instead of Bentancur. And then in terms of up front, it looks like we're going to be having Kudus, Johnson probably on the left, and then Kolo Muani up front. Martin, quick reactions? Or seems like you're hesitant.
no.
Seems like you don't like.
We see. I don't know. I'm trying to get my head around it. What he's really going to do? I don't understand. No Van der Ven. Is he on the bench? Yeah, he's on the bench.
Yes, he is.
So Bentancur is going to be our 6, you think? Kudus and Johnson out wide, Sarr in the 8, and Bergval in the 8/10. Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
I'll be honest.
I don't know. I'm expecting it. Just more changes. That's just, again, there's just no consistency and no chance for the players to get relationships together because, again, it's just completely all over the place. But, yeah.
I worry about the midfield being too lightweight. I worry about Porro at right back. Maybe could have went with Spence. And to be honest with you, I don't ever want to see Johnson in the forward line, especially against a big club like Newcastle away from home, because a part of it is,
he was
and we
awful
learned this
in
under Rans Postecoglou, you're not going to be able to play football and get it to his feet. You're going to have to put it long, and hopefully this guy holds onto it. And he's gone hiding behind against Newcastle time and time again. I remember there was a game, I think it was away from home. Vicario had no option but to try and use the wings as outlaws. And anytime he went to Johnson, Johnson is standing in behind the fullback, didn't want to know. We're going to get ourselves into the same situation here again tonight, I feel, and I worry in that regard. What I will say is, to be fair to Thomas Frank, this is what, our 4th game in like 9 days or something like that. So I can understand maybe him resting a Van der Ven and protecting the hamstrings. Although I would argue when the pressure's on, you need to get wins. You should be playing your best 11.
Yeah.
But I can understand it to
Both
a certain
ways.
degree.
Yeah.
No Paulini in the midfield when you're up against Tonali, Gomes, and Joe Linton. I think that's a big mistake on Thomas Frank's behalf. I'm just worried. I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. Look, I'm not going to be defeated going into the game. I'm a Spurs fan. I've been brought up to try and be the eternal optimist and believe that anything is possible. Even the most impossible things can be possible on any given day. But I do worry. But I still hope we can get something out of it. Let's fucking go. Let's take it to the Magpies. Let's see what we can do.
There is no Gomes for the Newcastle team. It looks like they've gone with Ramsdale, Lewis Hall, Tia, or Chia, the very good German defender, with Dan Byrne as well. Just trying to make sure what their lineup is. Livermento's in there. And then their midfield is going to be Joelinton, Tonali, and then Lewis Miley with Voltamata, Jacob Murphy up top, and then Harvey Barnes as well, who is actually on fire at the moment. So let's hope But yeah, that's the lineup for them.
Speed, pace, and power from the middle up with speed, pace, and power, and they got solid defense. It's going to be hard tonight. No matter what team
rotations as well, though. Yeah,
no,
they've made some rotations.
It's not new players.
To be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, you have to. It's coming thick and fast. You have to make some, and he's not going to pick everyone what we want, our ideal thing. But just look at them. They've got a solid defense. They've got a good keeper. They've got good midfielders, Tonali and Joe Linton, and then you've got speed running down them wings. Yeah. We ain't got no pace nowhere.
Dermatron, I put your link into the chat as we're wrapping things up. Anything to plug and any final things that you'd like to say?
Well, look, on this lineup, I'm worried. I'm with Dave. I am worried. Look, I've been hearing all day that if we lose badly tonight, and this is just what I've been told in my own opinion, that he could be gone tonight. He may be gone tonight. If it's a bad result, he's on thin ice. I understand with this 3rd game in football. Is it 9 days, Jack? And Dave,
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, Dave, about resting. I get it, but I also agree with you where we should play our strongest 11. Out of the two, I would have rested some players for Brentford on Saturday. That's more the lesser game than tonight. But I just don't get it. I would have put Palunia in there instead of Bentancur. I would have put Xavi in there as well. Would have started him tonight. I'm very concerned by that. I'm very, very concerned. Look, we all got to get behind the team. Look, we may not like the manager, but let's get behind the boys tonight. Let's support them for 100+ minutes. Let's back the team. We're all Tottenham fans at the end of the day. Rightly or wrongly, we're everything. We're players, fans, managers, board, whatever. For the 90 minutes, let's get behind these boys. Let's go and get a victory. Let's go and take 3 points back to the lane. Look, I just want to see fight, desire, and pride tonight. And if I can see that, then all right, the players are given something. But I'm worried. But look, as Dave, I'm an optimist as well. I'm going for a 2-1 Spurs win tonight. That's what my heart's saying. I'm going to follow my heart, fuck what my head says. You know, in Tottenham we trust, in the Cockerel we love, in Tottenham Hotspur we'll always follow to the ends of the thirst, to hell and back. We're Spurs fans. Let's get behind the team. Come on, you Spurs.
You and that Cockerel needs a hotel room at this point.
Yeah, and thanks, Jack, for putting my link in the chat. We've got a lot of things coming up. We're having mad numbers at the moment. Really are growing really, really quickly at the moment. But yeah, please get over. We've got me and Dave's Irish Lads Talk Spurs podcast every Thursday, which is good crack. Yeah, we've got a lot of things coming up. But me and Tequila on Thursday, we're doing going through the squad, and we're going to rip apart and see who needs to go, who needs to stay, and who do we keep, who do we get rid of. And we're doing our first ever member show tomorrow night. So if you're a member of my channel, 8 o'clock, we're doing our own member show. So come on, have your say all about Tottenham Hotspur.
Nice.
I'm on mute. Please, everybody, show Dermotron some love. He did a great job tonight on the panel show and the pre-match build-up. So please, everybody, head on over his channel, THFC Till We Die. Martin, any final words from yourself?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm worried. I can't pretend. I'm not one of them to just start clapping in the air like you, Jack. It's I'm worried, and if we start like we did on Saturday and going 2 behind, or at least 1 behind in the first 10 minutes, if our players are fragile at the minute and their mentality out now, they worried about a few boos from the South Stand. You wait till this lot get behind them when they're, 6 beers deep on a Tuesday night. They're all going to have their tops off. It's going to be intimidating for them, and it worries me. It worries me on the pitch, and what off the pitch will do. Listen, I hope they go and surprise me, and we're going to smash them 3-0 at half time and do something miraculous. But yeah, that's called hopeism.
Make me jealous. I wish I was 6 beers. Get me motivated. Oh, yeah. Feels like I'm lagging a little bit. But thank you, Martin. Thanks for being here with us tonight, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
Joe, we will see you all later, everybody, for the watch along. Get yourself 6 beers if you can.
Yeah.
And your socks off.
Get the socks off. Get the takeout order in case you need to have something to chow into to also again distract yourself. Get ready to maybe start hiding behind the couch, or who knows, maybe Spurs will show up tonight and we'll be happy clapping, which would be great, really. But everybody, smash the like button, please, on your way out. Thank you again to all the support that we received tonight. Everybody that came in, Jerome, Shemtan, Taylor Knightsbridge, Dropkick Your Teacher, Ryan Trestane, Leighton Evelyn, the biggest happy clapper there is, Paul Vambin, Moondog, really appreciate you, Moondog. 50 months is absolutely crazy. Mick as well, and many others. Really do appreciate you guys. And thanks for keeping along. Difficult conversations, but I felt like it was a really good chat tonight, and as well, really good contributions from everyone. So appreciate you all. We'll see you very, very soon for the watch along. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Let's go.
Come on, you Spurs.